Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and I'm joined by co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. I am back, but let's not dwell on that because we have a guest.
Yeah, let's not dwell on that. There's no point dwelling on that. We've got a very special guest. We are joined by Kim Morrison. She describes herself as a one-dimensional teenage gorehound. Wow, that is incredible description of anybody. She's a writer, a senior contributor, and social media manager for Ghouls magazine, plus an Eddie Munson addict. Welcome to the show, Kim.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
One-dimensional teenage gorehound. Could you not have? I mean, I think there's a lot more dimensions to you.
That was some random guy on Letterboxd called me that after I wrote a list about like my favorite films from the 2000s, I think it was. And he said, this is a terrible list. It looks like it's been written by a one-dimensional teenage gorehound. And me and all the other ghouls thought that was hilarious. So I've sort of adopted it.
Very strange to have that it's experience though, Kim. It's not like a guy to, come at a woman for having opinions on the internet.
Especially in horror films, yeah.
Must be totally the first time ever.
I'm always perusing Letterboxd looking for lists that I can just attack and insult the person who's written them.
You can disagree with. Just text. Have you got capacity to DM this person? Yeah, I want to tell them who their mom slept with, all these other things that I can allude from this list that I disagree with.
I like owning the attempted insult is always good. I definitely approve of that.
Yeah.
I like it. So today we're discussing a film that is very close to Kim's heart. In fact, you suggested that we watch this film, and me and Andy had never seen it before, which I was explaining to you before at the top of the show. It's kind of weird because it's right in my ballpark, like late 90s teen horror movies with like some sort of new metal soundtrack. Yes, my bread and butter. But no, I've never seen it before. So
it is one of my notes, Ben. We'll come to it. It's a very early bullet point. Do real big fish attend this school? Because I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure I hear them as they're arriving at school that first day.
Who's that?
Full scar mode.
That's real big fish practicing around the corner. Oh yeah. So Kim, what is your relationship with this film? Why do you love it so much? Well, obviously, we will get into the review of the film a little bit later, but I thought it was a good place to kick off.
Yeah, I think I can't really remember the first time I watched it, but it was one of those films that I just watched a lot as a teenager. It's probably because it was one of the ones that was like on TV quite a lot, because when I was a teenager, we didn't have Sky or anything. So it was anything that popped up on like terrestrial TV was what we used to watch. And anything that had like an angry teenage girl in it, I just like gravitated towards. So like this, The Craft, Ginger Snaps were literally like never out of my DVD or VHS probably at the time player. And I think just because Rachel's a bit like gothy and a bit alternative and like quite like angry at everyone, it definitely resonated with me as a teenager. And it's kind of I'm a massive Stephen King film as well, so it has a sort of tangential relationship to the Stephen King world, so it appealed to me on many levels.
Yeah, and I mean, a very like unconventional sequel, but also one that seems to be like critically. It's definitely got a cult following, it seems, but one that like critically was a bit. So it wasn't that well received.
Yeah, I've met very few people who have nice things to say about it. Like I think everyone just kind of goes, "Oh, it's a sequel to Carrie," and it's basically the same story, so it's rubbish. But I think it definitely handles. I think it takes the story and sort of handles it in a different way, and sort of deals with different sort of topics than the first one did. So I think that makes it really interesting, and I think it gets maybe like a bit of a bad time just because it's a Stephen King sequel that's people maybe just think it's a bit of like a cash grab or whatever. But I think like it sort of works very well on its own, even though they do kind of bring in a lot of Carrie references to tie it back.
Yeah, I think it probably would stand up on its own without even that relation to Carrie. It's kind of like some descriptions of it is as the connection to that film's kind of shoehorned in a bit. I mean, I guess so, but it is kind of experiencing the same sort of thing. And I guess it wouldn't be a cash grab the fact it came out 20 years later. A cash grab would have been 1979's Carrie 2.
About raising out of the grave or appearing from the future at the beginning.
Yeah.
This time she's good.
This time she's good. She always was good. So there was obviously, I just wanted to bring this up as well because I don't know. There was a remake that came out like early 2000s as well. Is that right?
A remake of Carrie 2 or a remake of Carrie 1?
A remake of Carrie 1, because I was just thinking of the movie, because obviously it was only a few. I know the Chloe Moretz Carrie didn't come out not long after that.
There's two remakes of Carrie then, right? There's a 90s one and a Chloe Grace Moretz one of what, 2012-ish, something like that.
Yeah. So I think there's a 2002 Carrie TV movie, which is like a sort of straight remake of that original Carrie. I was just wondering if anybody had seen that, because obviously it's only 3 years after this one was out. So I was just wondering if there are any similarities at all.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's quite similar to the original film, though there's kind of more explanation, I guess, because it's longer. It's kind of 2 big episodes, like Stephen King miniseries kind of standard thing. And I think the ending's very different. I'm entirely sure that Carrie actually survives in the end, and goes away with her pal Sue. I don't know if it's still Sue in that one. But it is quite good. It's got Angela Bettis in it. It's in like May and things. And it popped up last week on Prime, that you can watch it free with adverts, because I was very excited because I haven't seen it since it first came out, and I was like, yes, I'm definitely going to rewatch that. So yeah, no, I would definitely check that out. Anything Carrie adjacent is good in my books.
Anything Carrie adjacent. Yeah. I saw it pop up on Prime as well, which is why I was going to mention it, because there's like a thing on Prime in there you can watch certain horror. There's loads of horror on there actually, to be fair, where you can watch with ads, and that Carrie popped up and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this sort of remake, but I don't think I've seen it. So yeah, it looks very similar though. I'm just looking at some screenshots. It almost looks like a sort of 90s remake of that, and obviously this sequel is completely different vibe, but still somebody with telekinetic powers. Stephen King loves the telekinetic.
He does.
Going wild.
Beyond Stephen King loving just the telekinetics gone wild, he loves a pyrokinetics. He loves any type of kinetics that you can get, usually in a young girl, in a film where you wouldn't be surprised if either, depending on if they're good or bad, Professor X or Magneto turns up at the end and goes, recruited. Like, I think Stephen King recruited. Stephen King in the 80s and 90s, when he was writing these books, obviously reading a lot of Claremont X-Men, because there are a lot of teenagers with suddenly developing powers. That if only there was a school in upstate New York where they learn to harness them and protect a world that fears and hates them. But no, fortunately, just horror. This could be Matilda if she goes down a slightly different path, you know? Yep. If she's like, I'm sick of my mum and dad. If it weren't for the positive influence of Miss Honey, you could have been a Carrie. Miss Honey. One of my first crushes, I think, Miss Honey. What, just the Quentin Blake picture of her in the book? I was about to say, I don't know what that says about me as a person. Like, a lovely teacher who treats you nicely. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, I feel it makes me come over all. Yeah, so so obviously we'll get into that and into this movie in great detail in a second. Got some horror news to bring to the table. First, a couple of stories. Number one is that 28 months later is apparently finally coming together. Question mark. I had a question mark on the end of it because, you know, who knows. I think Danny Boyle was involved in some sort of screening of 28 Days Later, like a Q&A this week, and there's been some other stuff in the press. Yeah. Other stuff in the press as well. And apparently he says he'd be very tempted to direct it if it came out 28 months later, referring to a script that Alex Garland has apparently already written. And he said now feels like a good time to do it, which is kind of weird because, you know, it's been longer than 28 months since 28 days started the clock the first time the film came out. Imagine that viral marketing. If you'd got the second film ready to go 28 weeks later, filmed them back to back, even the film that is entirely Robert Carlyle's fault. You left your wife. You're not going back for one more kiss. Leave it. You've blown that one. Learn to walk away, Robert Carlyle. Robert Carlyle. Jesus. If you could have left it, nothing would have gone wrong. Robert Carlyle is absolutely terrifying at 28 months later. Like, he just got serious crackhead energy.
like when he's just kind of like when he's just like standing staring at you from like the end of a corridor.
Already a psychopath before he had the rage virus. He thought he could somehow resolve that relationship, having left your wife to be eaten. She's not going to forgive you, Robert.
I want to see Begbie in the 28 days later in the 28 days later universe. Could you imagine that the rage infected people wouldn't go near him?
It might go full circle though, and he'd get it and be like, oh, actually that's balanced me out. You know, like people that have tranquilizers.
Where he just becomes a really calm,
gone,
level-headed guy.
Just normal. Like I'm a regular amount of angry now. I could be cross. You test me, I'll go for it. But on balance of things, I think I've been a bit unreasonable with the I've made in my life. Shouldn't have thrown that pint glass over the edge. That was silly.
That's horrific. It's like a stein as well. Would anybody like, do you guys love those movies? Would you like to see a third installment in it? I know Cillian Murphy has kind of commented apparently that he would, well, I don't know about this, if this is true. He's been linked to returning, but he said, I think there's a problem. I'm 20 years older. And obviously if it's 28 months later, it's essentially, 2 and a bit years.
I mean, I think it'd be great. Yeah, I think like I love the first one. 28 weeks later kind of makes me a bit angry because it's just a bit just terrible decisions basically all around. But the first one was brilliant, and like there's nothing scarier than a speedy zombie as well. So I would definitely watch another one, especially like I love Alex Garland's weirdo touch on things as well. So I think that would be good.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see what.
Go. I'd turn up to watch it. I'm the same with other things that we've had, like The Last of Us and so on. Did you need a sequel? Not necessarily. Would you turn up and enjoy one? Probably quite a lot. I think I've only seen 28 Weeks Later once, twice, not many times.
I always forget that Jeremy Renner's in that. When he turns up, you go, huh?
Does he not get like roasted alive by other soldiers? Is that him? Someone gets like
they just make fun of him.
No, someone gets like absolutely blowtorched to death as they're pushing the car away. To say, is that him?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, that's
I
don't like that. That's not a pleasant death. Not a fan.
Even for Jeremy Renner. When you said they thought they roasted him, they just go, Jeremy Renner, you're not Hawkeye. You couldn't throw a dartboard from 5 feet away, mate. And he goes, what? And they go, and your hair's shit.
Is a picture of you when you were a kid. Look at how your teeth are too big for your head. I was like, oh no!
I'll grow into them when I'm 15.
I'm classically handsome. What are you talking about? You weren't always that way. Have some gentle mockery.
So, I mean, a sequel, but in the hands of like Danny Boyle. I know he's probably a completely different filmmaker these days. And Alex Garland, it could be amazing. And 28 Days Later, one of my favorite films. 28 Weeks Later, I think that opening scene alone is spectacular. And there's nothing scarier than a fast zombie. Also, in the first movie, there's nothing scarier than having to change a tire while fast zombies are on their way. I reckon even if the zombies could barely walk and I had to change a tire before they got there, if it was Night of the Living Dead scenario and they went change this tire before those zombies get to you, I'd be like, no, I can't.
I'd have to really plan around it. I'd have to walk like about 8 miles away, get them all there, get another car, or take a bicycle with me, get back, then I can fix the first car. Hopefully YouTube can still work so I can look up how to effectively change a tire, because that is not a skill I naturally possess.
That's the scariest moment. Or a drop of blood in the eyeball is also a horrible moment in that film. Oh.
It serves him right. What was that bird doing to him in the first place?
It was
mind your own business, mate. Mind your own business.
Human. Okay, so that's the most interesting piece of news this week. Scream 6 has apparently been delayed to March 2023. I still find it kind of crazy that we're getting a sequel like so soon. I thought it would be a couple of years at least. But yeah, I guess it's been delayed. Well, I thought it was a bigger delay. Sorry. When I opened this story, I was like, hang on a minute. How long has it been delayed by? It's only been delayed by like 30 days. So it's not really a big deal at all, is it?
Just scheduling. Marketing needs a bit more time. We're going to do another poster. We're going to do another cut of the trailer. Really get the hype going. Nothing.
What do we think is actually gonna happen. Have you seen the most recent Scream, Kim?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but if they bring Kirby back just to kill her, I'm never gonna watch another Scream film because I've already had to deal with Randy dying and already thinking Kirby was dead. If they bring her back in this one and then like kill her in the opening, kill her or something, I'm gonna be very upset. But I do love a Scream. I love a Scream film. So yeah, I'm excited to see where they take it. Though I didn't like the last one as much as I wanted to, but I'm still super hyped for another one.
Are they going to move it away from Woodsboro, do we think? Because I've heard some rumors that maybe it's going to be in New York.
Yeah.
Or
went
like
really well last time they did that, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah, when they took it to Hollywood or
Hollywood.
whatever. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you reckon with Nev Campbell not reprising a role, they might do something in that? Like, will they have Scream unmask off screen and go, "Oh my goodness, Sidney Prescott, it was you all along." Don't say anything. There's nothing you can say that changes. Don't say a word. Put that mask back down while we finish this off.
Is that legit though? Is she definitely not back for this one? I thought that.
I think that came out. That's the story, right? But it would be an excellent fake out if this is a big plan, so you can be surprised later on.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
But I do think they maybe just need to leave her and Courtney Cox's character should just maybe get to just like chill out. Like they don't they don't need to be involved like every time. Like what a shame that we haven't gone through this. Like it'll be 6 times now. They maybe just need some chill out time.
Too many. And so Kirby is Hayden Panettiere, is that correct?
Yeah.
And forgive me in my memory of the Scream, but she is dead.
Yeah, she got quite stabbed a couple of times in the stomach at the end of 4, and then you just never saw her again. You never saw her body. You never saw whether she was alive or not. But in the last film, there was like a YouTube video on one of the screens that said like chat with Woodsboro survivor Kirby, and Dewey had her number in his phone and stuff. So and then it got announced that she was actually coming back for it. So it's pretty exciting.
I guess if you watch that video, said, people thought it was dead. I was just poorly. I was in hospital for a little while.
It's fine. You get stabbed in the stomach loads and survive. I've also seen some like dodgy like fan art, which is like Stu not dead as well, like his face all mashed up and from obviously getting a TV dropped on his head. And
he's
TV
technically in it, isn't he?
What was that?
He's technically in 5, isn't he? He's in the golden Scream mask in the.
Oh yeah, of course, movie. Yeah, of course. So obviously very different getting a TV dropped on your head in 1996. Big CRT TV. That's pretty much the end of you. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence of it. I kind of feel like its reliance on legacy characters kind of works, but I feel like bringing characters back from the dead who are definitely dead feels a bit lazy. But yeah, I think just make like Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox just have a day off. Yeah, just chill out. No need to get involved this time. What is it even going to be called as well? Because I think I've heard some rumors it's going to be called Scream 2, but like Scream Roman numerals.
Wow. That won't be confusing at all.
That's just insane, isn't it? Scream 2, yeah, but which one?
Yeah, the second one.
There are 3 Halloween 2s, aren't there? So
yeah,
yes,
maybe that'll work. Who knows?
Who knows? Like just an impossible to name title, and then I do hope there's some surprises because I think the one thing that Scream always has done is really build on that metafiction. I think I mentioned it when we talked about 5 Cream that really, realistically, I expect it to be so meta that I am somehow the killer when I go to watch it.
You look down at your hands and you go, "It was me."
They install like a camera in all the cinemas. And then he goes, "Oh, we'll reveal the thing," and they've been scanning you, and they pull off the mask, and it's you. And they're like,
"How is that?" Hang on a minute. Deep fake technology.
Yeah. Deep fake it, so it's you. You're like,
and everybody in the cinema somehow sees themselves under the mask. Like everyone was given little VR.
Yeah, technology.
We're getting into it now, aren't we?
Oh, you could do that.
This is great, Andy. Write this down to pitch as something. You're the killer all along. Yes, it seems pretty nuts. Okay, last piece of news I've got is that I love a bit of Conjuring Universe news on this show. apparently there was a Crooked Man spin-off in development, as per James Wan. If you remember the Crooked Man from number 2.
In number 2, right? He comes out of the little Wendy house. The boy is on the land.
He's got hat on. It don't fit him, covering his eyes. He got little spectacles, ever such sharp teeth. I don't know. I'm bringing this news up. As I said, the news has been on the ground this week, but apparently it's not happening anymore. They've gone. You know what? There's not enough want or need for a Crooked Man movie. Maybe like 5-6 years ago, but no more. We're focusing on The Nun 2. No more spin-offs from the Conjuring universe team-ups. No, minor characters.
Is that The Nun 2 Ibiza Antics? Is that the one?
Yeah, Valak in Ibiza.
Yeah,
that's right.
The Nun 2, she always was the nun. Don't worry about it. No origin.
No origin. Yeah, but what was she before she was the nun? She was a nun. Oh, this is the perfect prequel. I love it.
She wasn't a nun. She just, like, Valak always looked quite a lot like a nun. And in a hell roast, they were like, here you are in hell. You look like a bloody nun, don't you? Which is very embarrassing if you're from hell.
If you're a demon.
I was thinking about that just the other day. While I was delayed at the airport, I was technically in hell. I bet everyone's really religious. They're all in hell. It's been like, oh, blooming hell, got that wrong.
I'd love the fact that if you were stuck at the airport, you just turned to a complete stranger and said that to them.
Excuse me. I reckon in hell everyone's dead religious because they see demons all the time. And if you were bad, surely the devil would like you, not punish you if he's bad.
True. That's true. That's true. God.
Sorry, I'm going to hell now. I've assumed the devil's gender.
I think The Nun 2 should be called The Nun 2 Back in the Habit.
If we're just reusing titles, then yeah, why not?
Back in the Valak. That's like Habit. Sounds a bit like it.
I love it.
I love it. If Valak is a honest to goodness demon getting about, must be livid. Everyone knows its name. If I was encountering a demon and understanding as much as demons as I do, which is very little, I understand that knowing their names is, I don't know, gives you all sorts of over them. That would be the first one I tried. It'd be like a proper Rumpelstiltskin situation. Valak would be like, he's sucked in, mate. I'm gonna get you. And I say, is that Valak? And like, fuck. Just go.
Jesus.
You wouldn't say that. That's a swear word for them.
At the start of the show, we really do have the best ideas. We should really write them down. Or is it like when you're at an after party at like 5 a.m. and someone has go, I got a great business idea, and you go, what? And then you listen, and you go,
sign me up.
This is brilliant. Someone write it down. Someone text me that tomorrow. Text me that tomorrow. And they text you and they go, what the fuck's the other way?
I'd probably agree. Some of these are very bad ideas, but I've seen far worse movies. So come on.
Yeah.
Exactly. Give me $1 million, Hollywood.
Yeah, not even $1 million. How much did Terrifier 2 cost? 250 grand. Give me 250 grand and I'll make Valak 2 Back in the Habit happen. Okay? Yeah, so that's it for horror news. I guess we move swiftly on to what we've been watching. I guess this week or anytime recently. Andy, you've not been on the show. Kim, you've never been on the show, so feel free to mention anything that you've seen.
What have
recently.
you watched ever?
horror adjacent.
Yeah, I did the thing over August to October where you had to watch 100 horror films that you hadn't seen in 92 days.
I saw you doing that. That was incredible.
Yeah, I watched 7 on Halloween itself to finish because I went through a period of September where I couldn't watch any. So my October and August letterbox thing is just an absolute nightmare of really terrible Netflix horror films because I was trying to pick things that were really short as well. But this week I finally went to see Barbarian in the cinema after avoiding spoilers and trailers and everything for it. I actually saw like half the trailer when we went to see Halloween Ends and then realized what it was and then sat like this for the rest of the trailer to try and block it out. And yeah, it was fantastic. I'm obviously not going to spoil anything because it's just, go in as uninformed as you possibly can, but it was brilliant. I loved it. It was just bananas. Though the little Airbnb house they stayed in I just couldn't help thinking like how beautiful it was. I was like, I know there's some weird stuff going on here. I was like, well, I would like to stay in that house. It's really cute.
I'd love to stay in that house, especially that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right, nigga.
Yeah.
Someone ain't
Future
right.
Property. I haven't seen it yet. I turned out when I went away to the US where I thought I'd be able to catch both Barbarian and Pearl, ended up expecting me to work and be really, really busy the entire week, so I didn't get any downtime.
The movies left the US theaters and came over to the UK. They passed you as you went over the Atlantic.
Yeah. So I'm going to catch up on it soon because it's more widely available, and it's some cinema releases, and I know that it's streaming in other territories now. It won't be too long.
It is great. I don't always enjoy films that make me go, what the actual fuck? But for this film, I said that a number of times. And in a positive way, you know? Sometimes you could be like, what the actual fuck? But no, I was like, what the actual fuck? I guess, like, of all the people we've ever had on the show that I've asked what you've been watching, no one has ever said, I watched 100 horror movies in the last 2 months, 70 days or something. So any other that jump out? Any recommendations from that? Huge.
I finally got to see High Tension because it got added to Shudder. And I'm not the biggest fan of proper gory stuff because I just I literally read a scene from Terrifier 2 on Wikipedia and I felt sick. Like, I don't think I could watch, but I for some reason I'd convinced myself that High Tension was going to be great, and it finally got added to Shudder, and it was brilliant. I really loved it. It was the gore was contained enough to just a couple of small scenes that it was fine, and I did spend a lot of time on Reddit threads afterwards about the ending and stuff that had went before to link to the ending and stuff, so it was really good. So I think I'm just I'm trying to have a look at my letterbox, and I watched the original Wolfman as well, which I'd never seen, and I love werewolf films, so I don't know why I hadn't seen the original one, and it was fantastic as well. Like just really good. I'd watched the original Dracula and thought it was a bit like kind of crammed in to the runtime compared to like the book and things, but the original Wolfman was like the Universal Monsters one was excellent.
One key takeaway from the original Wolfman, and we've mentioned it recently on the show, is that bit dodgy, that bloke. I've been watching you through the window.
Less problematic as a wolf than he is as a guy. I think arguably less of a predator.
Much less of a predator. You should go out with me. Nah, I'm engaged. I'll keep asking until you say yes. That's how it works.
Yeah, unless your fiance is literally here to beat me up, I don't respect that at all.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep on. Sell us a walking stick, will you? I'll sell you this from our Chekhov range here. It's one with a silver wolf head on it. Perfect for beating a werewolf. Perfect for beating a werewolf to death with, which incidentally the local gypsies are talking about at the minute.
we also mentioned, and it's probably the best foot transformation scene in cinema, right?
Can't name a better one.
Never. It's just a crossfade from like normal feet to hairy wolf feet, and I was like, feet that look like those big like gorilla slippers you get for Christmas.
Yes.
Sometimes. High Tension is great. I've not seen it for quite a while, quite a few years. But yeah, it's definitely probably worth going back to. Awesome. Anything else just worth a shout, or have you got is your list too extensive?
I think I'm trying to look. I think the one I rated the highest recently, and not really a film because it's quite short, was that Werewolf by Night that got added to Disney Plus.
I like that.
Again, because werewolves always good, but I just loved the whole vibe of it, like the whole like black and white old kind of monster movie, and it was funny, and the monsters were great, and the main guy was just amazing. It was really good. And my boyfriend's not seen it, and I was like, I'll watch it again with you because I liked it that much. Like, it was just fantastic. So a bit.
That was a lot of fun, and we're a little. I think we're past it enough now. I'll give a quick spoiler warning before I say it out loud. Spoilers. I really like Man Thing in it as well. I think Man Thing is great, and I never thought I'd see the day where we get another representation of like old horror Marvel comics coming up there, because I've read a lot of their old stuff. There's some really cool stuff in like Tomb of Dracula that I wonder, like, Dracula's public domain now, would they ever put him in? Maybe. Really interesting stuff, and I thought it was delightful. And I hope we see more stuff that's a little bit shorter form that doesn't have to be a 2-hour movie or a 6-hour series or whatever.
It would be good to see more horror Marvel stuff, and I think Blade's been put on the back burner as well, hasn't it?
Lost its director, is it?
Yeah, I think so. Lost something. Yeah. Andy, have you managed to see anything while you've been on your travels?
Like I'd predicted, that's why I did such a heavy start to this month. I didn't really have time to watch very much while I was either working away or was then on holiday. I did a little bit of plane watching, nothing too horror centric, but I'll save them for prosperity. I watched the 355, which is an action movie. That was lots of fun. Perfect aeroplane movie. Speaking of good aeroplane movies, I also watched Bullet Train. That was on my way home. I watched it during some terrible turbulence, which kind of made it a horror movie. At several moments watching quite a nice, benign, fun action movie, just paused to go, fuck, as I thought I was going to fall out of the sky to my death. But apart from that, and I watched Bodies again while I was trying to sleep. It was very comforting.
Again?
Yeah, just watched it on the plane because it was on. I was like, it's either that or Minions. And I said, I quite like that little speech she does about podcasting, and when she tells a friend off because her parents are actually upper middle class and she's not a big urban rags to riches story. It's some fun. There's some fun dialogue in that movie, so I enjoyed watching it again.
I love how you ended up in a situation where it was either that or Minions. Again.
New Minions as well. Not even classic.
Yeah.
Not even classic Minions, new Minions.
Yeah. I went Bodies.
Nice.
I do have one that I saw since I last saw you. I've continued my Hellraiser journey. I think the only one I haven't mentioned is the last one I watched, Hellraiser 8, aka Hellworld, aka that one where Hellraiser is an internet game now. And Hellraiser is an internet game now, except it isn't. Spoilers for Hellraiser 8, it's like Hellworld if no one's seen it, but it's actually Bishop from Aliens. His son is dead and he's having a revenge on his online mates that weren't very nice to him. So he invites them to Hellraiser, Hellworld party, drugs them all, buries them alive. They all hallucinate seeing a pinhead because they like the Hellraiser game. A couple of them survive. Henry Cavill is in it.
Is he?
Yeah, young Henry Cavill is in it as a guy that gets a gobby off possibly a Cenobite, but it's all right. It's all hallucination.
Gets a gobby off a Cenobite. I feel like a Cenobite's the last person you want.
She just looks like someone at a party, but then she has a mask on her head that goes all goo. Gets a bit of a fright, but not enough to stop it. He's like, "Oh, sorry, I just had a bit of a fright." Then
I've started, so I'll finish. Is what he said.
So I never know when this is going to happen for me again because I'm giant, classically handsome Henry Cavill in this one. A bit of an.
Is Henry Cavill? Oh my god.
Yeah. So yeah, that was fun. But don't worry, Hellraiser does turn up at the end to go, "Oh, I'm here for a little sting. It's me, Hellraiser." But I've got just two original recipe Hellraisers left to go. They have titles which I've not committed to memory. Maybe one is Inferno. Maybe one is another word.
Hellraised. Who knows?
Another hell based word, like I don't know, a Bible word. Now I'm back. I'll get to that, but I might take a little break to watch things like Pearl and Barbarian that I was actually looking forward to, rather than just being a completionist and making myself sad to varying degrees.
Are you watching Barbarian or Pearl right there, Andy? No, I'm watching Henry Cavill getting a fellatio from Cenobite.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry, it's a hallucination. Nothing weird.
It's a hallucination. Nothing weird. I've only seen a couple of things this week. So I went to a screening of The Fog at the Curzon Cinema in Clevedon, which is like a seaside town as well. So it's the perfect sort of place. It was hosted by DJ Chiba, who did he kind of like did a remix of the Fog original soundtrack before and after the showing. And then it was immersive. There were smoke machines, like things projected on the walls, and then some vengeful sailor ghosts who, when they got close, I could tell that they was just people who worked at the cinema, but still, it was pretty effective. They had glowing red eyes.
Authentic, because you're in Bristol, so they'd have the appropriate accents.
Exactly, they would. And
sailors.
Swords looked a bit plastic. That's all right. That's fine. No, it was really good. Like as soon as the fog started rolling in, because that's the only thing fog does, it rolls in. As soon as it started rolling in on the screen and then in the cinema, it was very, very effective. And then and we were right near the back as well. So the first instance of one of the ghosts appearing was like right in the sort of my peripheral vision. So I didn't know that there was going to be actually people wandering the aisles. So there was a moment where I did go a bit like, oh,
screaming to Charlie, get out, the fog's got me. Ah!
But then I pretended I wasn't scared. I went, oh, that's embarrassing.
I find it funny, actually.
Yes. I find it funny, not scary.
Yeah.
Well, I was squeezing her hand.
I always start laughing with a massive scream.
That's the only way to do it.
Laughing like Matt Hancock in that video we saw today, aka famous piece of shit, impossible traitor, Matt Hancock.
Famous piece of shit and definite traitor. But I wish the fog ghost would get in. That'd be good. That'd be good TV. But also, I guess. Oh, sorry. Just to mention that the fog thing again is that it was really good. I really recommend seeing a film like that because I've seen some sort of like immersive screeners before, but this was probably the best one. And you could watch The Fog like that. You could watch The Mist like that. You could watch Silent Hill. Any film where there's a fog scene. Thing. Oh, any mist-based.
I felt the fog. You know, a little bit of a romp. Watch out for those pirate ghosts; they'll get you. Can you imagine the interactive mist experience?
Yeah.
No.
Tentacles are just like 30-foot tall.
Big tentacles slurping off the Shermanator under a warehouse door. Next thing you know,
religious woman.
Yeah, religious woman's there, riling everyone up. Next thing you know, Thomas Jane should have waited 5 minutes, shoots his kid. Oh.
Just wait 5 minutes. No, it's the only way.
Wait until the monsters are literally about to get you and then take that resort.
There was also on the fog screen, there's also a dude dressed as the priest as well, wandering the aisles, getting chased down by the ghosts. It was good. It was good. The only thing is, like, if you really wanted to watch the film, like your attention is completely taken away from the movie for like a good few minutes. So if you've never seen it before, it's probably not the best way to watch it.
Shh, watching the film.
Watch the bloody film. Put that sword away. Jesus, your red eyes are really getting on my nerves. You idiot. I also watched Chopping Mall.
I saw that you'd watched Chopping Mall. I was going to make sure you mentioned it, Ben. One of my personal favorites.
Yeah. So I pretty much only know about this film, A, from you, and B, I think it was on one of the In Search of Darkness documentaries where they kind of like spoke about it in great detail. And it's weird, isn't it? Because I guess just from the poster and the name of the movie, you kind of just think it's going to be a
murderer
slasher film. A murderer. A
bloody
person
robots.
slashing. But it's bloody robots. 3 evil robots. Obviously, you've got some horror royalty in it as well. Barbara Crampton. Who else?
Dick Miller's there as well.
Who's that?
Old Dick Miller. Dick Miller, Mr. Fudderman himself.
Oh, yeah, of course. He gets electrocuted. And then also
you cast in assuasions on the good name of those robots. They're not evil, Ben. They just malfunction because lightning hits the roof. They weren't.
Can't help that
that's a mechanical error. There's no morals about it.
There's also so Kelly Maroney in it as well, who is in Night of the Comet, which is a great film as well. I mean, you've obviously seen it lots, Andy, and you've probably got a love for it because I guess you saw it when you were young as well.
Nah, I saw it. I was about 22.
Okay. Personally, I think it starts off well and it ends well, but maybe there's a bit in the middle where I was a little bit like, it's a really short film as well. It's only like an hour and 20 minutes long. Also, there's a weird bit where like all of the teenagers are kind of getting it on in a bed shop, and they're all essentially just in the same room.
We're all teenagers once. We'd all have a sleepover in a bed shop in a DFS.
Yeah.
Why do you think that furniture is always so heavily discounted? People have been sexing on it, left and right.
People have been sexing on it left and right. But I respect the guys who just watch a really old horror movie while everyone else is getting it on.
Yeah, like a Big Centipede, and they actually have the strongest romantic connection. They were like, "Oh, we haven't forced this. We've watched this Big Centipede movie."
Exactly. There's absolutely no sexual connotations about a big centipede writhing around in pain. What?
Yeah, that actually is a good bonding experience, and that shows their connection goes a little deeper than
Yeah.
That's a really sorry. I'm John Crinnan in this. I'm going to meaningful.
For a second, I was like, "Is that John Crinnan or is it?"
No, I haven't got such a nice speaking voice. You'd never mistake me for John.
No, but yeah, I mean, I recommend Chopping Mall because it's very cheesy, very 80s, very very silly. But the thing is, it's got some good kills. But then I feel like in terms of budget, it just goes, we haven't got any more budget to blow up any more heads. We're just gonna have to rotoscope some electrocution effects over people.
Yeah, and the inconsistent lasers that sometimes they just come a bit sharp and sometimes will blow up your entire head.
They've got they aim as well as stormtroopers as well. These robots,
they'll only shoot you when it's plot relevant.
Yeah, exactly. But that's it. That's pretty much all I've seen this week. I think that's it. Apart from the film of the week, which is The Rage 2, Carrie, The Rage, Carrie 2, The Rage 2. What's it called?
To Carrie 2 Ragius.
It's called Carrie 2, Rage 2 Carius. I don't know. It's confusing, this title. Is there a sequel title? This is like as confusing as this? This is the most confusing?
It's the same that Jurassic Park does, because it's the Lost World Jurassic Park. Yes. It's the same, which is always good knowledge for pub quizzes. That goes around the other way.
Because people pull out Jurassic Park 2, won't they?
Yeah, no.
And then you go,
no points. They'll go, can I have half
actually?
Get to fucking know you.
Can I have a point? Oh, I've never heard of Jurassic Park 2. What's that? They made a Jurassic Park 2, did they? Yeah, of course they did. No, I've never heard of it. What's it called? Jurassic Park 2. Let me just Google that. No, I've seen the Lost World.
Zero results, sorry. In fact, when I Google Jurassic Park 2, it says the title that people say that is fucking wrong for the Lost World Jurassic Park.
I do enjoy any film though that releases a sequel, and instead of it's just a claw mark as the Jurassic Park 3. Oh yeah,
anything with animals with sharp claws is prone to that until you get to 4.
Yeah, there we go. Right, so it is The Rage Carrie 2, that's the official way of saying it, which is a 1999 American supernatural horror film directed by Katt Shea. Is that how you say her name? Katt Shea. Starring Emily Bergl, Jason London, Dylan Bruno, J. Smith Cameron, and Amy Irving. It's a sequel to the 1976 horror film Carrie, which is based on the 1974 novel of the same name by Stevie King. And it serves as the second film in the Carrie franchise. Okay, plot-wise, a horrible massacre strikes up after an outcast teenage girl is taunted by a group of high school jocks, all of them unaware of her cutthroat telekinetic powers. I feel like in that description of the movie, it's basically a spoiler. That's what the whole film builds towards.
That might as well have said, in the final scene of this.
In the final scene, I mean, yeah. It builds pretty well towards that final scene now. I feel that tension. Okay, so what we got? 4.7 on IMDb, 2.4 on Letterboxd. It's got a 24% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 32% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. This is why we've got you on, Kim, to just fight the corner of this movie based on these absolute disgraceful scores. Okay, a couple of choice reviews on Letterboxd. Ivy Walk gives it 4 stars, and she says, underrated teen scream, to be honest. Works as a 90s Carrie fanfic. So grunge and so fun. 4 stars. Said that already. And Molly says, the men in this make me so violent. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. 4 stars. Interesting. Robert Berlin says, a turn of the millennium version of Carrie is certainly a promising idea, utilizing teenage suicide, rape culture, and the fear of school shootings as tools for an updated take on the story of the outcast puts to their limits. But then Robert's only given it 2.5 stars. I feel like he's in his review
put some deep meaning. It's actually it really examines these bits of culture. Like Citizen Kane really examines, I don't know what the fuck Citizen Kane is about. Really examples how a guy loved his sledge once. 1 star. Like,
man in love with sled. Okay, so do you think those scores are fair, Kim? I guess you don't. Complete disagree.
I mean, I think the 4-star ones are fair. Yeah, I don't think I don't think the 2.5 is fair, considering, like you said, he picked up on a lot of things. Is what I would say make it really interesting, and then gave it a bad score. So
it's pretty. I kind of meant the scores on IMDb and Letterboxd. I should have said.
All right,
that,
no,
and
not at all.
Tomatoes.
No, I mean, I don't know why it gets. But then, I mean, I frequently say that I think I have terrible taste in horror films, because all the new ones that come out, everyone's like, I love this, and I watch it, I'm like, oh, and then all the ones I really love are like, you go on Letterboxd and it's like 1.5 is like the average, and I'm like 5 stars. But yeah, I just really love this. I think it just gets such a harsh time. I think most people just go, oh, it's a terrible compared to Carrie, and I don't think you need to directly compare it to Carrie. Carrie is like a masterpiece, obviously, but I think any comparison directly to that is going to give it it's not going to stand up as well. But I don't think you need to, just because it is a sequel. It can be its own. It's very like Halloween 3. Like, you don't need to compare it to the first one. It can just be a good film on its own.
Okay, the best one, Halloween 3. I think you're in a safe space here, Kim. I don't know if you remember a couple of minutes ago when I gave a glowing review to Chopping. But yeah, as a first watch, I mean, we'll get into it. There are some things to lightly roast it perhaps about, but I think this was pretty fun. I'm so glad you brought it up and suggested it, because I think I could have accidentally, influenced by those fools on Letterboxd and IMDb, thought I don't need to watch Carrie 2. I'll stick to my excruciating Hellraiser sequels. Thank you very much. But I'm really glad I watched this. This was a lot of fun, and I know, Ben, your wheelhouse, because look at that cast. You got some Mina Suvari in there. You've got American Pie alumni, wall to wall. Could have been set in the same school, if I'm honest.
It really could have been, yeah. It's pretty impressive, actually. The amount of the cast. The cast is great, and it's got like this a really obviously 90s teen comedy vibe, despite the fact it's obviously a horror movie. But yeah, it kind of reminded me in a way of I guess, I don't know, I was getting kind of like Blair Witch 2 vibes, but that was kind of like the sort of group, and then you got like a sort of classic goth as well, which they kind of do in Blair Witch 2.
It's got one character with short dark hair. Classic Blair Witch 2 vibes.
What's she listening to? Goth. That's a goth. Underline that in the script 3 times.
I also loved Chekhov's Shirley Manson reference. I mean, not only do the characters in the film love Shirley Manson and think she rocks, but so does that director of photography and the costume designer, because when she activates her mutant powers later, she basically becomes her. Like, it's me, 90s Shirley Manson.
Does someone say, do you like garbage at one point as well?
Yeah, said, what's this garbage? You like garbage? Yeah, Shirley Manson's the greatest. Look at camera, wait.
I enjoyed looking at the posters in the bedrooms as well. The only one I can think of at the moment is Marilyn Manson.
She had a whole poster in her locker as well.
Yes.
Again, beneath the Marilyn Manson one. But yeah.
Yeah. And the subject, so the subject matter is very different to Carrie as well. So of course there are going to be comparisons, and there are the flashbacks, and obviously there is a very distinct connection to the first movie as well. It deals with a lot of different things in terms of subject matter. There's not so much like of a religion and puberty connotation as there was in the original movie. Although bullies / nasty bastards.
Bullies that live in the same town less than a generation after, I think they after 78 people died in a bullying incident that triggered like a psychic meltdown. You would think you would be, if you lived in that town, even if you yourself didn't know, your parents would be like, "Yeah, I've been bullying anyone, have you?" Because literally everyone of my age is dead because of that.
Have you seen the school? It's still there. It's still there. Rubble. It's rubble.
That documented school destroyed. And a woman that works in authority as a guidance counsellor now, having spent some time in Arkham Asylum, she is there rocking out that news about that demolished school that's over the road from the completed school that we used today. Yeah, destroyed by like when a little girl went absolutely Mewtwo on some horrible bullies.
Sue Snell. I love that word. I love that name. Sorry, Sue Snell. Who's that? Sue Snell. Oh, you know what she's like. Classic Sue Snell. It's a proper horrible bully name, isn't it? I know she's not bully in this movie. Yeah. But I think we mentioned when we reviewed the original that Sue Snell was a classic.
Bearing in mind, Sue Snell probably had to go like the horrible rapey bullies in this film say about good defense being a strong offense. When your name is Sue Snell, that is so much like Sue Snell, she probably thought, I had better be a bully, otherwise I am for it. I'm never going to get out. I'm going to have to be the worst bully ever. I'm going to be such a bastard that a teacher slaps me around the face in gym class.
Yeah. But it's not. This is the thing. It's not just bullies in this. The men in it are, well, the men / kids are like, there's like toxic masculinity personified. They've got like a horrible, like, how would you describe it? I guess that they are like they're very coercive and rapey, but they've also got like a sort of league, like a chart. They're getting points for sleeping with various girls as well, and kind of like using them just for that.
Also uncomfortably interested in each other's sex lives, like not only setting each other challenges and scoring them, but then making sure they're in the vicinity of the sex that's happening, so they can really overtly be out there and cheer after it's happened, and literally write the scores down as they happen. Like literally, these are the teletext boys over here. They are straight on it. They want it right in the books immediately.
Yeah,
maybe I've just not had any good friendships growing up, Ben, but I've never been that interested in what my friends have been doing in terms of sexual conquests, at very least.
I thought you were just going to say what I'm doing anyway. What'd you do on the weekend? Well, I just went to. I don't care. Yeah,
no,
it's pretty horrific, but I guess it's like in terms of, this is the thing. With Carrie, I guess you completely understand that when she does have a meltdown, you're like, yeah, fucking kill everybody. And you kind of feel the same with this movie as well, especially when they all shave their heads and they all look like even more of horrible bunch of meatheads in some sort of weird rapey sex cult.
Well, I tell you what, they love shaving their heads, don't they? I reckon it looks like, from what I've seen, they enjoy that head shaving more than the sex that any of them have in this.
It does feel pretty good shaving your head.
I was about to say, like, you've shaved your head, Ben. Like, do you have to have a soundproof bathroom?
Yeah, come on.
The police come round. Everything all right, sir? We had a commotion. I've just been shaving my head. Oh, terribly sorry. Carry on.
They've even got a code that they go. It's just a 4, 4, 6, 8, 2.
Oh yeah, classic head shaving, natural.
Obviously, Kim, you've written in great detail about the themes of this movie as well. Where can our listeners find that if they want to find your article?
It's on Screen Queens, and it was kind of a part of a series that they did about I can't remember if it was a specific time period or just teen kind of horror in general. But yeah, I think it's quite interesting because Carrie, obviously the original Carrie, sort of looks at kind of more the kind of horrible teen girl bullying that a lot of people experience at high school. I think this time around it's quite interesting that they it's this horrible thing that's kind of ingrained, I guess, in the whole place. Like, Rachel's not like Carrie, like she actually has pals, and like she speaks to, I can't remember his character name in the film, but Fitch from American Pie, like she speaks to him as well. She's got her best friend and things, so she's actually like she's fine, she has people, but there's still like this horrible thing from these guys, and it's quite ingrained in the whole school because the teachers like know about it, and like the guidance counselor knows about it. It doesn't really become a problem until Lisa kills herself, and then when they take it to the police and things, like they're just like, well, you're going to ruin these guys' lives, like this is stupid, you shouldn't be doing this. Everyone's very much aware of it, even the other women in the school. The girl that's trying to get with Jesse the whole time, I mean, she's, like you said, she literally has sex in his car with him while his pals are cheating him on, and she just like gives him the finger, but then puts her lipstick on and is like, oh, when are we going out on our next date?
Like, oh, you silly boy.
Yeah. Like, she doesn't give a shit either. She's just like, yeah, this is fine, like I'm going to be part of this because then I'll get to sleep with the boy I want to sleep with. She doesn't really think about, or doesn't seem to think about, how they're kind of using her as well as part of it. And I think it's just a different way to look at, like, they sort of took the same story. It's still people getting bullied, but Rachel specifically getting bullied because she stands up to them when Lisa kills herself, because she's not willing to let this like slide and doesn't want to be part of it. And it's only because she fights back and then like dares to kind of try and infiltrate herself in the group a bit by dating Jesse, that they take this huge like dislike to her and decide to mercilessly bully her because she's kind of threatening their like standard way of life, I guess. Like they don't, she's all she looks like she's been gothy and kind of weird for a while, and they don't really seem to have been standardly bullying her. They decide to pick on her because she like doesn't want to take their hassle and doesn't want to conform to everything else that they're kind of shoving out there.
It's one of those things that still feels like really relevant as well, because you know, you always read stories about, not just in this country but also in the US as well, about like statutory rape and things like that. And a lot, there's still this kind of attitude as well, that when somebody commits a crime like that when they're young, or something worse than that, for example, that it's going to ruin their life, it's going to be, you know, almost like some people have this like anger that they portray towards the victim, simply based on that. Sorry,
we've seen it happen in court cases. Like we have a lot of fun on this show, but like these are themes, and I'm not sure if some of the big news stories predate this movie or post-date it, but actual stories where young guys who are particularly young athletes and are noted to have a thing, and not only is it the defense of their lawyers, but even in judges saying, hey, I'm not going to give you a custodial sentence because you're a promising young person who is, you know, it's really diminishing what that crime actually is and what the experiences the victims are by saying, oh, I don't want to ruin your life by doing these things. Without going
too late, mate.
I believe in a prison system that has rehabilitation and people can go to prison and then come out and have very productive lives, but I'm not sure I'm quite on board with the fact that you shouldn't lose your opportunity to be a particularly privileged person whose job and qualities that you will have as a role model and the privileges you'll get from that by being a famous sports star should be retained when you do something incredibly fucked like that. Because young or not, unless there are extenuating circumstances that mean you do not understand things like that, which are probably limiting factors to your success anyway, I don't mind. I don't care that you're young. Like, be better.
So
and it's a real life thing. So credit to this film, which is in many ways like an over the top horror film. I think this is what I enjoyed about it, that it's a Carrie sequel, which could be very easily a throwaway thing, but it isn't. It's a film that has something to say still.
Yeah. I think it in terms of the point of view from where Rachel's rage comes from, it feels like it is coming from a very different place in this movie than Carrie. Would you agree with that, Kim?
Yeah, I think so, because she seems a bit more like aware of her powers from like when they kind of crop up again. It's like she's kind of been more aware from them when she was a kid, and she's maybe kind of been in control of them from now, from when she was younger until Lisa dies. But yeah, I think it comes obviously from like the loss of her friend, and then from just like constantly trying to do things that she just keeps getting like stopped at every kind of chance to kind of get some justice for her friends. And then in the end as well, like they just they just kind of, I guess she has sex with Jesse, and it's a nice thing, and they kind of take that back into their horrible group and twist it and make it a horrible thing again, and it just, I think that just makes it even angrier, because they just ruin like everything. She can't have anything nice. So yeah, I think it comes from a very deep place of trying to protect her friend, and just probably like all the women that these guys have mistreated along the way as well.
The fact that like revenge porn comes into it as well, is something that I think obviously existed, I'm sure, obviously before this and afterwards, but became really prevalent a long time after this film kind of came out. So it's kind of like ahead of its time, the fact that it kind of understands and knows like the way I guess that toxic masculinity is going to sort of develop, I guess, and sort of go to that next level, because they almost like push it as far as it can go and then go, right, we're going to push it even further to that, in terms of like ingrained misogyny in sort of society, and especially in the society of like young people, especially when people are developing and finding out so many different things about their bodies and their feelings and everything. The fact that it's so ingrained and generational in a way, really, I think it's really well represented in this film, and in the way sort of Rachel deals with it by just fucking everybody up, you know. That's just...
I'm gonna go on a limb here and say, like, you know, the titular rage that we see building in Rachel the whole time, and when you look at the themes of the entire movie, with all of these messages and the things that happen in it, like, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say making it a Carrie sequel is probably the almost unnecessary, maybe not from a marketing perspective. I think you could have taken out the flashbacks to Carrie and the demolished school and things like that, and just had it be another story about a kid with psychic powers. We already live in a world where Carrie and Matilda both exist. You could have, I think, especially with watching this in a modern sense, you can ignore this as a Carrie sequel, and if anything, it makes it a stronger movie, because some of the things that don't make sense can be set aside. If this is a script just about this character Rachel's experiences and how her psychic powers come to it, the link to Carrie is fairly tenuous, right? Don't we has she got the same father as Carrie, or at least that's the theory?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same dad. So essentially, like a half sibling of Carrie. And I guess you could just credit the filmmaker Katt Shea in this, because she's taken something that could be very copy and paste, or could be very, you know, follow a lot of the same themes and build to the same crescendo, which in a way it does. But the fact that she's added so many unique and interesting talking points as well throughout is a testament, I think, to this film. Okay, in terms of cast, we've got Emily Bergl as Rachel Lang, Jason London as Jesse Ryan. Jesus Christ, this guy looks like Brendan Fraser. I was just like, is that Brendan Fraser? I mean, it can't be, because this film came out the exact same year as The Mummy, and he's far older than him.
Brendan Fraser is an adult, at that point.
Yeah. And then you've obviously got, I mean, to be fair, these names of the guys playing the jocks sound like dickhead names as well. Dylan Bruno. Dylan Bruno. Jesus. He's Mark J. Smith Cameron. Oh, no, wait, that's a woman. That's Barbara Lang. That's the mum. Sorry, J. Smith Cameron. Amy Irving is Sue Snell, so reprising her role as a that is right, it's the same actress, isn't it? From Carrie. Mm-hmm. Reprising her role as a sole survivor of Carrie's rage in the original film. Now she's a guidance counselor. She stopped bullying, stopped it dead that day. And then there's other jocks and other girlfriends of the jocks as well, including, did anybody notice Rachel Blanchard, aka Nancy from Peep Show?
Oh, I didn't.
I remembered it as the girl from the Clueless TV show.
Yes. Oh my
but
God,
yeah, you're right. She's in Peep Show as well.
My immediate thoughts were, it's her, not Alicia Silverstone. But that's why.
Yeah.
Initially, yeah. Oh my God, the Clueless TV show. I completely forgot that was a thing. But yeah, not really. And then obviously I've missed out Mina. What's her name? Savina.
Mina Savari.
Mina Savari. What did I say? Mina Savina. That's someone as well, isn't it? Jesus Christ, that's a very similar name as Lisa Parker, aka Rachel's best friend. Was a tragic end. So that's it.
Mina Savari was one of those people who I expected to become enormous from some of the roles she had. Not necessarily just Carrie 2, The Rage Carrie 2, but a huge role in Oscar-winning film American Beauty, and then maybe she's just in films that I haven't seen. It feels like she got upstaged very brightly and then disappeared.
She got upstaged by a carrier bag in American Beauty, if you remember correctly. That's all everybody talks about. Remember that carrier bag? Great. I know what you mean there. Yeah, because obviously she was in American Pie as well, right?
Yeah, did she return for any of the sequels?
She was in 2, and I think she was in the reunion. She was just on the phone in 2, though. She wasn't really there. Like
phoned it in.
Her boyfriend kept just phoning her because she was like abroad in France or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember because second one's the best one, I think. Love the second one. But still, probably looking at it, going back to those films and looking at them now, there's probably like a lot of kind of similar themes, but not presented as sinisterly as they are in this film.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, watching someone through a webcam.
Yeah, the guys have got some of the very same ideas. They just don't get raged.
They don't get raged, no. Yeah. Okay, so this film, it starts in 1986 with Rachel Lang. She's placed in foster care. Her mum. So initially we start to see some she's kind of developing some of the powers that she has when she's older as well.
Her mom is painting, is it blood or some sort of red juice all over the wall while going absolutely Beswick, like just going through, painting things on the wall, trying to protect her daughter. She gets carted off to Arkham Asylum. Yes, really. And the policeman goes, "You all right? Do you want me to use your dad about?" She goes, "Nah." Says, "Do you want me to take you off to live with the foster family?" And she legs it in. The blood has very quickly dried into lovely, nice red paint. And
this was a good little shot, actually. I think when she was like running in and all the doors
slams some doors behind her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like the passage of time here? Where it's like she's got a little puppy and then she like gets into bed with the puppy and is like, and then like uncovers and you're like an adult now, you just got a big dog.
Yeah, you slept for ages. God, you must have been tired.
It's tiring using your psychic powers when your mom's off to Arkham.
So it's 13 years later when she wakes up. And then
that dog's got a good look, hasn't he? Old Walter.
He's a superpowered dog, that dog, because he gets absolutely demolished by a truck later on.
I know.
He is.
I had to
when we were watching it, I had to remind my boyfriend. I was like, remember, the dog gets run over, but he doesn't die. He's fine. I was like, he's there at the end. He lives longer than anyone. Like, it's fine.
Absolutely flattened.
I'm repositioning this film in my mind that he is the main character.
It's his rage. Like
the rage. Featuring Rachel, but mostly the Walter story. I love Walter. I have a bullet at the time saying like, this film is getting 1 star if that dog has been killed. If I'd have been Rachel, I would have raged that town to the ground the second before a speck of Walter's blood had hit the ground, and have crushed that car into a cube like a Magneto.
Like a what?
Like a Magneto.
Bloody hell. Yeah, it's pretty horrific. But luckily the dog's got adamantium bones.
A lot of mutants in this thing. It's a really long-lived, indestructible dog.
Yeah. So we get some of Rachel's life at high school. In high school, she's got like foster parents who. What would you say?
Foster parents, and I feel like the fostering system. I would imagine. I don't know much about. I'm not an auditor of the fostering system in this country or the US, Ben. I've never claimed to be, but I feel like films give foster parents a really bad rap because I feel like mostly they're probably nice. I reckon they're probably quite nice people that want to look after kids.
You don't get into the game of being a foster parent if you've got no patience.
Yeah. And if you're desperate for the $300 a month and you're also really enforcing really arbitrary rules, like your dog's not allowed in the house at night, only in the morning can you let it in through that ramp up to your bedroom window. If it's in here in the night, you're going to hear about it, right? And if you use a tone of voice, I'm going to be a bit funny about it, but don't worry, the punishments aren't too harsh. If you stay all night sexing out, I'll give you a slap around the face and grounded for a week. Slap across the face, grounded for just a week.
It's quite a long time.
But when you're a kid, 5 of those days are school.
Yeah, it's true.
Useless.
All right. So she attends high school with her friend Lisa Parker, and when they go to school, what conversation do they have on the school bus on the way to school?
She said they've got matching tattoos. She's gone, tell you what, only went and did some sex last night. She goes, you bloody rotter, who is it then? She goes, oh, I'll tell you at lunchtime to preserve the mystery. All right.
Nice.
And they do they touch tattoos.
Classic.
Yeah, they do like a finger touch thing, and they that shows that they have a strong bond.
Yeah.
And then they nip off to school and discuss Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, and when they're arriving at school is when we're introduced to the
Real Big Fish.
Real big fish first. That's the first thing. Do you like ska? No, I hate it. Well, you're gonna have to find another school because if you arrive.
Might as well step off the school bus and goes, we're going to school. One step. Literally, everyone's in check. Everyone is doing the like there's some cheerleaders. Their routine is very Power Rangers.
Sorry, Kim, go on.
Sorry, I was just gonna say my favorite trope in high school horror films is them going to like an English lesson and the English lesson being very much about what the plot of the film's about. I just watched all the Halloween films back to back, and in Halloween 1 and H2O, and it's maybe like the 2018 one, they're always having an English lesson about fate. I can't remember what the first one's about. H2O is about Frankenstein, and it's all about fate. And then Halloween 2018 is the same. And I'm like, I'm glad they kept this up throughout the films. But that's my favorite, is when they do it in so many high school horror films. But yeah, the minute this one came out, it was like, let's talk about Romeo and Juliet. I was like, yes, let's. This is perfect. I love this.
And the main character has always got like something really specific to say based on they're basically experiencing exactly what is happening.
And then the character that they may or may not love, their friend or their enemy, will always have an opposite opinion. Because in this one, Rachel's like, nah, what that means is that everyone's doomed and I don't believe in love at all. Teacher, one could argue that with the interpretation of English texts, probably isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer, but he's like, wrong. Fuck Rachel. And then the other guy, I guess our goodie in the piece, he puts his hand up and goes, actually, it's dead nice that they're actually dead, because that's the only way they can be together. And he's like, yes, A star.
Yes, A star. Can I also query, how old are Romeo and Juliet? Are they like 13 or something like that?
Different time, Ben. It's different time. You could
different time. Some sort of weird love story, suicide pact going on. They're only 13. Yeah,
and then all the time, like, despite the fact that they're in a high school big enough to support probably hundreds of students, all of your main players are in the same class, because there's horrible bullies are in there, like, answer the question in class, did you?
And some of these bullies are absolute meatheads as well, so there's no way they're in the same set as some more intelligent people.
Get and practice your letters.
Yeah. And when we're introduced to the jocks, obviously we do see that they've got this like sex game tally thing going on, where you get different points for going all the way with somebody, or just, I don't know. I didn't look at the rules, to be fair. I just saw the fact that they would like
it'd be more problematic than if you had a encyclopedic knowledge of them. You see, they base it on challenge. It's a very nuanced system that they're using here.
And if somebody claims to be gay and you could turn them, you get 1 billion points or something like that.
Oh, that's like the golden snitch. Like you've done it. It's like instant win. Berkeley rules. Yeah.
The thing is, like,
they're no good. They are overtly no good.
It's extreme, but a lot of it is kind of realistic, based on opinions that people still have, and still like problematic opinions that people still put across. Like, if somebody, this is just an extreme example, but I'm still going to put it out there anyway. If somebody, I don't know, comes out as being gay, and then, but they've previously been in a relationship, for example, with a male, or maybe the other way around. There are a lot of these weird opinions where people say, so you turned her, or you're putting them off men so much that they decided to change in terms of their sexual preference. So these things are like real. I'm sure this is like an extreme example, but like in terms of society, these opinions still do like exist and are probably still like genuinely a problem.
And reflecting on it, Ben, like, think of the time. This film came out in 1999. I was 16 years old in 1999 and can confirm that teenage boys were horrible. I mean, I can take myself off being as horrible as those teenage boys. Pokemon Gold was out that year. I was having a banging time. Got to catch them all. That's what I was putting points in.
I was running around pretending to be Eric Cantona with my collar up. Just go, interested in girls? What?
I'm interested, yes, but also terrified. Yeah, I certainly didn't have a complex scoring system.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
mean, like, to be honest, if I did have a scoring system, it's like, right, set, like, this girl managed to like speak to me or acknowledge that I exist. Yes, 50, top of the charts.
This girl doesn't hate me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess what it establishes already is that these guys are bad news. But like, it's like gives you a real bad feeling from the word go. And obviously, this is immediately ramped up when Lisa Parker, we just follow her. Considering I had no idea this was going to happen. This moment, just wanders up to the roof, and kills herself, throws herself face first onto a car. And there's obviously a guy, some dickhead as well, just like filming loads of stuff around the school as well. And he comes along and says,
immediately goes on, and the only fault of Lisa here is she has gone into the area which is designated only for the garden club, as the signage clearly indicates. But we can't blame her for that, because she's having a shitty time. We don't understand why yet. It's really come out of the blue at this point.
It's good that it doesn't like establish it first and then show it, because you are kind of like trying to uncover the mystery. Sorry, Kim, what are you going to say there?
I was just going to say, it kind of shows the hint of it beforehand, because when like Lisa and Rachel stop beside the table, she kind of looks over at Eric, and he kind of smiles at her. And it seems really like cute and everything. You're like, oh, that's nice. That must be the guy. And then his pals immediately just rip him to bits because they think apparently she's like the ugliest woman that's ever walked the earth. Which one isn't true, and two, you shouldn't say that about people anyway. But I think it's how quickly, because he must immediately decide that like he's not interested in her at all, and he must immediately just go and tell her for her to then just go and like kill herself that quickly. So I think I think it really kind of hammers home I know I'm not forgiving him at all, but the kind of like societal pressure that they're under as well from this whole group to like conform to the rules of the football club. And obviously Jesse feels it kind of strong enough to kind of break out of that himself, but Eric clearly doesn't, because the minute he gets a hint of like this isn't like even though it will add him points to his thing, he doesn't want to be involved in it at all. He's just like, no, they don't think she's cool or hot.
Doesn't someone say she's fat as well? Does somebody say that, or is it
they say that about another very unobviously fat
at.
girl? Yeah, they're just they're just the worst, the way that they're commenting on women.
They're just the worst. And it's weird with Eric in this moment, because when he looks at her and he kind of looks a bit uncomfortable with it, I kind of feel like, okay, so he's one of the characters who's a bit uncomfortable with it, but he's like one of the worst ones coming. I know.
In. Yeah,
it's really strange.
You see a bit later in the movie though the kind of role models they have in some of the parents, and again, it's not excusing, but it does show that generational attitudes that come through.
Yeah.
And again, I would be really interested. We can't, I guess there'd be other things we do if we had a time machine, go to the Lost World, Jurassic Park. But I'd love to see reactions to this film from 1999 when they came up, because obviously people thought very differently then. Watching it now, you can see that there's a scene later on with the coach. He belongs on a list, doesn't he?
It's so bizarre.
Yeah,
he belongs on the list.
I don't think his CRB check's coming back these days. And then again, though, really, 1999 accurate. We had a PE teacher who I shall not name for legal purposes, even though none of this is alleged. This happened, who had an affair with a sixth former and then got done for diddling the school out of a load of money. He ran a holiday that he overcharged like hundreds of kids' parents for, but then what had him come unstuck in the end was he stole the school bus's tax disc to use in his car. So the tax man brought him down, just like it did DMX, just like it's done all sorts.
Is this guy like a career criminal? What's he getting? He's like,
I don't know what he's up to now, but he was the awful PE teacher that make you have a shower, even though you know
he needs to get.
you didn't have a towel. Get in them showers, drip dry. It's like,
drip dry.
You're wrong.
He needs to get a Nightmare on Elm Street 2'd and get his ass whipped in the shower to absolute whipped to ribbons.
I was praying for Freddy Krueger to get that. Like, he's horrible. Like, the tax man did it for it. A different type of real life horror got him.
Yeah,
he's definitely not a natural educator. But yeah, so much like the coach in this one.
Yeah. So after Lisa commits suicide, it's quite tragic, obviously, because we see Rachel kind of realizing in real time like what's happening. She can't quite see who's well, everybody's obviously gathering around because something unbelievable has happened, and when she realizes it's Lisa, obviously it is really, really effective. And then did she purposely do a bit of digging? Or, oh yeah, that's right. Lisa asked her to develop these rolls of film at the start when they arrived at school.
Mm-hmm.
So
she had a lovely date with the guy that she slept with, right, and has lost her virginity to. The guy is also aware of this, so they go to try and get the photos because she works at like a drive-through photo development place.
Hey, you want your photos done real quick? Get yourself through the drive-through. Just wait there. I'm just quickly developing them. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so I think already.
Room, wouldn't you? You'd have to have blackout windows on that drive-through.
Switch the lights off.
Oh.
She's doing it at night though, so she's
they do them at night. It's true.
So the football players obviously already realised that like someone's killed themselves based on Eric breaking up with her like immediately, because he didn't just break it off with her in a nice way, did he? Clearly just went, "Oh, well, nothing to do with you," whatever. So they clearly realised that it's morally repugnant, the stuff they're doing. So they're like, "Well, we've got to cover our asses because we don't want to be seen to being responsible for someone committing suicide." Oh yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Not a single one of them goes, should we reflect on our behaviour and maybe change? Now we should cover this up.
Double down on the behaviour, if anything.
Yeah, if anything, be worse.
If anything, be worse. Blame the girl who's clearly upset and devastated after the death of her friend, going through enough. Let's target her as well.
I mean, one thing we will say about Rachel, though, is absolute commitment. She does, on the very day of this horrible thing that's happened, does still put in her evening that the photo.
Oh, God, yeah.
I'd love a deleted scene when the manager goes, "You what? I've got no one to cover it." I'm serious in a career about photograph development because this industry is not going anywhere in 1999. This is here for the long term. I recommend, if you want to keep your finger on the pulse, you get in here. And she does.
My friend committed suicide today. Your best friend? Yeah, my best friend. Not your mum, no, is it? Get to work.
I'm afraid I can only offer compassionate leave for a direct family member. Yeah, it's just the way it is. It will be unpaid. So yeah, she goes in and is actually, to be fair, maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe she wanted to develop the pictures for evidence to find out who it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and some people they deal with the terrible things happening by just trying to keep things as normal as possible, not interrupting their routine so much. But still, this is a pretty extreme situation.
But the footballers come along and they try the two techniques that they have in their arsenal. It's like, oh, do you want those? Can we have those photos? I'll give you up to $20 for them. She goes, I mean, development's 25. No, she goes like, I'll give you $20 for them. She goes, oh, they're not your photos though, are they? He goes, okay, plan B. How about I come and pick you up after work? We can go for a little cruise around in my car. And she goes, oh, I mean, can I go back to the first option?
Sounds absolutely great.
I'll ride in this car with this man who I quite overtly dislike. Oh, go on.
I feel like she's the only person that's ever like shown any kind of dislike for them, because even Lisa was like a goth and a weirdo as well, and she clearly went out with Eric. I feel like Rachel's the only person that's just like, no, what are you doing? Like, get away from me. And obviously not just terrible timing on their part by the fact that her friends just died and she potentially already knows that their friend was involved, but just the like overall like overconfidence of it all, that he's just like, yeah, well, this will be fine because I'll fix this with my sweet talking. Very, very clearly doesn't, because yeah, he just comes off as like always underlying slightly aggressive, I think. That character, he's not very pleasant.
Yeah,
Mark, I was gonna say, I can't remember his name, but Mark. Yeah,
Mark the meathead.
And then
yeah.
Mark immediately shows his true colors. He like wheel spins. He says something insensitive, and then wheel
Yep.
spins off.
Does she give him the finger? I think she might give him the finger.
Yeah, people are giving the finger left, right, and center.
Fuck you. And is this when the police come and talk to Rachel?
The sheriff comes over and goes, "You have a bit of a chat with us in case there's some proof." And she goes, "Yeah, absolutely. Here's the proof immediately." Does the sensible thing, but actually we don't see very often in movies. Quite often. I think in a lesser movie, she would have had the proof and gone, "I'll deal with this myself." It's a real Blob situation where the police would go, "Nah, I don't want to hear it. Not interested in all this proof."
Yeah. Either that would have happened, or she would have like kept the proof because she wanted to fit in with them, which would have been another kind of a bit of a cliched storyline to go down. So
I liked it. It just gives it to the authority figures straight away. And at this point, I'd have been, this is where, up until this point, I think I've been like, how is this Carrie too, apart from the fact she has psychic powers? And this is where we see old Sue Snell again.
Sue Snell.
And they go, like the sheriff's talking to Sue Snell and goes, "Hey, don't go thinking that this is like a real Carrie situation."
She's like, "I'm not."
Yeah, that famous incident where that girl went psychic and literally exploded about 78 kids in a school within living memory, but none of us talk about it, even though you, the sole survivor, still lives in this town. No, I wasn't going to bring it up. Stop asking. She has been to Arkham as well, though. She spent some time there as a patient herself.
So did she say that she knew Rachel's mum, or did she just that was just a coincidence that she'd also spent time?
I don't think she knew her. I guess now she works with the services, so maybe she does know because she's the counselor at the school that her mom is in Arkham, and she's taken because she spent some time there as well. Because being grabbed by the ghost of Carrie from that rubble sent her temporarily insane, I imagine.
Yeah, just temporarily. So Sue Snell, she does mention that she's received a few complaints, or no, she's received a few. She understands that some of the girls in the school are upset, but they won't like elaborate on why they're upset.
Rachel's actually bringing it forward. They actually have something concrete they can work on this time.
Yeah. So essentially, they realize that there's this game going on between the football players, but because Eric was 18 and Lisa was 16, is that correct?
Yeah.
They say that they could pursue statutory rape charges against Eric. Which again, what's quite refreshing about this is the sheriff is like, yeah, let's do it. Let's pursue this. It's not him who seems to be the one throwing cold water on it.
Yeah, he's like, isn't even like, it goes right to the top. He doesn't even mention the DA later on, as I'm going to be facing the DA on this one. Like when Eric's being pulled up on charges.
Fucking Eric. Oh my god. I'm not here. There's a moment with Eric, not quite yet, but I was just like, just knock him out.
What famous knuckle duster owner, Eric?
Yeah. What are you gonna do? I was gonna batter the citizen girl. What? So why? Because I raped her friend and now her friend's committed suicide. So now you're gonna beat her up? What's wrong? Are you a fucking psychopath?
I feel like Eric and Mark have got like a flow chart. It's like, okay, try and obtain evidence via money. No. Flattery. No. Let's intimidate, and then if not, incriminate ourselves further by visibly beating this woman with these knuckle dusters that I happen to have on me. Like if Eric was an action figure, that'd be the thing. I think we'd have two different heads. He'd have hair Eric and no hair Eric. For shave his head.
Did he have a broken arm? What happened to his hand? I can't remember.
He'd have
sore fingers.
Yeah, red sore fingers and knuckle duster fingers. Those would be his accessories.
And then backwards hat. He has got a backwards hat towards the end. How does he do? Oh wait, and detachable
Yeah.
testes. You'd have like a little pull cord, which just rip them off.
Yeah.
Yeah, never has a man on film more deserved to have his dick ripped off than Eric. Like it's beautiful, poetic justice. But yeah, I do think it's interesting how the police and everyone are quite on side. It's just the whole sort of lack of quite understandably, because these football guys apparently make up like half the school, this inability to come forward and actually kind of name them because of people are terrified. And I guess Rachel's kind of getting to the point where she feels like she has nothing to lose. But yeah, it's quite interesting that it's the school are quite behind pursuing it. The police are very behind pursuing it. It's more like a sort of cultural toxic masculinity thing that's ingrained in the men, like you said, the men of a generation who definitely should know better, because probably the rest of their class burned to death in the gym hall. Yeah, it's quite, I think it's a quite realistic look at it, of it saying that there's like, yeah, it's a generational thing, and just sort of this this side of town where it's all the very prosperous families that are well known, and all the popular kids and stuff, like trying to attack them and bring them down for stuff that they're doing that's bad but very well publicized. Like you said, like he doesn't care that he was going to beat her up with the knuckle duster, because he clearly thought he was just going to get away with that as well, which is slightly terrifying. These people think they're like above the law, I guess, because how would Rachel tackle them if she didn't like have psychic powers? Like she has to leash that at the end, because that's like her kind of last resort, I guess.
That's her defense. And thinking about it as well, we know it's endemic for these people as knuckle duster owners. Notice how all of them have 4-letter names, the big baddies. Perfect for if you had knuckle dusters and didn't want to face the consequences. Eric, Mark. They're out there.
Didn't they say some bollocks later, like that the families are powerful and that they've almost got like political influence as well?
Yeah, like you see the dad talking to one of the sheriff things. I think isn't there a conversation later on where Eric's almost rolling over and he said, "Oh, it's also these guys." He brings in some of the others. He's squealing. He's feeling the pressure from the police, and he names other friends. And I think they say that's some of the most influential families in the town, and the sheriff still doesn't seem to be keen on letting this go. They're coming, which I guess all leads to them to escalate their plan. I'm not sure if it's already happened, but we have the point where Meathead Mark looks like he's having a bit of a wavering before he doubles down. And he has that encounter with the coach, who's like, "Right, pull your shorts down and your pants." And he's like, I need an adult, but unfortunately, the coach is an adult. And he makes him do it, and then goes, wondered, like, you might have had a tampon in or something like that. It's like, that's not how this. I can tell you the coach, not the science teacher, mate. That's not how it works. But yeah, it shows these things, and then I think at that point, this is when, like, I guess it's meant as a way to kind of make the baddies, the jocks, are more to show that there's an influence behind that, but doesn't make them any nicer. They double down on that behavior, with the exception of our one character who's already started distancing himself.
Jesse Ryan, another very jock-like name, but we start to, the relationship between him and Rachel starts to blossom, and initially what happens is the Basset Hound, what's the dog called? Walter, hit by a car on the road. Who knocks the dog over? Not the car.
Just a random like hillbilly looking guy in a truck who's not paid attention.
Trying to eat a hamburger off the floor or something, reaching for something in his lap rather than noticing a very
Walter literally
slow dog walking towards him.
You see Walter like roll underneath the car, like it's pretty horrific. Like to the point where you're just like, oh my god, the dog's dead. Like there's nothing to suggest the dog wouldn't be dead, but the dog's a bit like, bloody hell.
The car literally explodes off screen.
Adamantium. So they take So obviously Jesse gets out of his car, helps Rachel, takes them to the
first. He's driving directly at her as if he hasn't noticed. It must be a terrible blind spot.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, but he capsizing. But he's driving straight at her, and she uses her psychic powers, I imagine accidentally, to crack his windscreen. He goes, "Blooming hell, a cracked windscreen! Stop! Oh, hello, you're right."
He didn't know it so before. Auto glass repair, auto glass replace.
Yeah,
that's where they go.
So they go to the vets, and I'm on the edge here. Kim, you put me through a real limbo. I was like, if Walter is dead, honestly, unnecessary, rude, one star. But the filmmakers do the right thing here, where the vet, proper A-Team style, comes out and says he's had a hard time, but he's gonna be fine. Not even it's gonna be touch and go for a while. Not even we'll do what we can, somber. It's he's actually gonna be all right. Can't see him now. He's very tired, having had surgery.
He ain't got a scratch on him.
Yeah, but he'll probably be fine tomorrow. Pick him up.
We'll put a cone of shame on him.
Don't want him licking it, but but it'll be all right.
So obviously, I guess this kind of like begins the connection between Rachel and Jesse. So there is like another cheerleader, cheerleader, Tracy, who's like pursuing him, and she's like, as you mentioned previously, Kim, like she's kind of indulging herself and involving herself with this game and as well, and she's just as toxic as the blokes.
You see her watching him talk to Rachel several times, going, "What's he doing?
What's he talking to her for? Jesus."
Talking to her. I mean, again, that confidence, it goes like, again, maybe in a modern society, even if you did feel that there was these hierarchies in school, it'd be like, "Oh no, talking to someone I consider below me. Excuse me, while I spiral into sort of some existential crisis. Maybe I'm not. Maybe everyone hates me. But no. Tracy, supremely confident, is like, "Hey, I've been rejected for someone I feel worse. The problem, no, the children are the ones that are wrong."
I think Jesse in this film is sort of like the updated version of Sue Snell from the first one, but I think they do it a little bit better, because I think Sue sort of gets caught bullying and being horrible and then decides to try and like rectify the situation by letting her boyfriend go to prom with Carrie. Whereas I think Jesse, you can see he's very like not involved in this whole process, like right from the start. And even when he has sex with Tracy in the car, like he just looks like he doesn't want to be part of it. Like I don't think on his list as well he had that many. I think there was like one other person, Tracy, and then Rachel. Like it looked like he'd just been very like peer pressured into it. And I guess the very like cringy chat he has with Rachel about liking garbage and Shirley Manson, it's sort of this glimmer, I guess, that he does have more like personality underneath. And I think he sort of like sees Rachel as his way to like kind of get out of that side of the school that he's kind of been stuck into a little bit, because she seems to like genuinely like him, and she doesn't do that prejudgy thing. I mean, she kind of does a little bit later, because it gets implied that he's been involved in it a lot more than he has, but she doesn't really do that prejudgy thing of like, you're a football player, so you're automatically a douchebag. Like she spends time with him and she's like, no, actually you're a nice person. So she's kind of doing the opposite of what I guess they're doing to her. They're just looking at her and going, she's a bit gothy, so we don't like her. But I think his journey is a bit more interesting, and it kind of allows him to even like decide not to shave his head and things. Like, would he have done that previously? I think he's sort of finding it easier to kind of take a step back from that kind of jock culture that he's obviously just found himself stuck in, because he plays football and is trying to get a football scholarship and things. It doesn't seem like that's actually like part of his life goals to be that kind of person, whereas with everyone else it definitely does.
It's interesting position as well that you mentioned when they play the game. Perhaps it's only Tracy that's on his list. Again, if you look at positioning him as the more heroic character, we've established in those scenes that Tracy is almost more of a willing participant. She seems aware of the game and it's something that she, at least overtly, doesn't have a problem with. So
Yeah.
we're setting up as a
It always
character who there
seems
are
like she
no
wants to be
victims.
involved.
There are no
Mhm.
victims behind him, so it's okay that we can. So this is an all right guy, and as we learn in moments' time, bloody loves Shirley Manson. She thinks that she's the best. The only way I could love you more, Rachel, and I don't love you just yet, but it's only about 10 minutes away. The only way I could possibly love you more is if you're more like Shirley Manson, my ideal. And she goes, well, I'm not sure that's going to happen. We'll have to wait and see. And then on we go. He does channel a little bit. Maybe this is his moment. He does channel a little bit of our mate, the original Recipe Wolfman, later on, because the next day he goes, "Gonna come on a date with us?" And she goes, "Nah, probably not a good idea. So I'll tell you what, I'm just gonna stand in the way until you say yes." Like, all right, Lon Chaney Jr., I'll go on a date.
I'm just gonna stand in the way until not. Oh, well, great! I'm convinced.
Yeah.
Could have called this bluff. So you'll have to go to class eventually. Cross your arms. Wait.
Was this? I don't know if we fully described the moment, obviously, where Eric and Mark went to try and silence Rachel into try and silence her by harassing her when she was at her home by like ringing her up,
trying to do prank calls in a pre-Scream world.
Yeah.
Little did he know,
Donald Duck impression. Fucking grow up.
I got that. It's like he says, "You know who this voice is," and he does Donald Duck. He'd be like, "Got him." That's him, officer.
That's him, the duck with no trousers on.
And then there's like Donald Duck going, "I'm in the Navy. I was away at the time. There was no way." And it's
What are you
like,
going to do the voice then?
I can't do a Donald Duck voice, unfortunately. That is a skill I do not have.
You just say I'm in the Navy.
Yeah.
I'm in the Navy and I've got anger issues. Clearly PTSD.
Yeah, really. And also, bearing in mind that Huey, Dewey, and Louie both have an Uncle Donald and they have an Uncle Scrooge, do they have parents that we never meet? That's a story for another time. Don't waste time on it now. We'll be too many.
It's a good question, but it is a story.
There is a third duck sibling that as far as to my knowledge, we have never seen.
Locked up in Arkham.
Yeah,
That's where they are.
Yeah, we don't know that they don't have the same voice as Donald Duck. Maybe that's what the parent went to prison for. Ducktail, like the unnamed relative, has been sent to prison for making threatening phone calls to a girl that turned out to be psychic. Locked away.
So what does she do with her psychic? Oh yeah, she slams the window on Eric's fingers, which he thoroughly deserved, and he kind of makes a meal of, to be fair.
Yeah, the brass knuckles only protect your fingers when you're punching things. They are not rated for window frames.
Not a window, no. Oh yeah, they throw like a brick through the window as well. Yeah, it's all pretty horrific. And after this scene, I think it's when Sue Snell starts to suspect, that's a mouthful, that Rachel may possess telekinetic powers, like they have the counseling sessions, and that's when she explodes
Explodes a snow globe.
Explodes
just
a
likes
snow
it,
globe.
just like Citizen Kane.
Just a coincidence. I know what happened to that snow globe. Oh yeah. Oh, it's just a coincidence it exploded like that. It would have, if we weren't there, it would have happened. Anyway. Oh yeah. The tree falls in the woods. Does anybody make a noise?
Sue Snell goes, "I'm going to get right on this." She's on to Anne Robinson on Watchdog again.
Exploding snow globes. Kids are getting shards of glass directly into their eyes. The range of exploding snow globes. No, it was Rachel.
The Snow Globe Corporation are going, we're like, how can you rule out that some of the people in vicinity of Snow Globe are not psychic and stressed at the time? A likely story. Dominic Littlewood's there. What have you got to say about it? No.
This happens in the same town as Carrie White when she turned the school to rubble. Dominic Littlewood. What time? So Sue Snell goes above and beyond her job role, tracking down Rachel's institutionalized mother. I know this isn't the blue tack on the gate. Was it blue tack? Was it like gum? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's like bubble gum.
It's like an Ocean's 11 type heist / escape, like, and then I just put the bubble gum on the lock. Yeah. Bernie Mac.
Just in case I need to like take you out on day release later on. And there's a bit. She goes in and she's talking to for a second. There's that man that's standing very close, and I was like, they haven't acknowledged this. Is this like an episode of Quantum Leap? Is this like Al? And it's like Sam, you gotta get the woman out of the mental institution. It's the only way. People say that Rachel's gonna get the rage at the party tonight on Saturday. It's like Ziggy says you gotta do it. It's like no, it is just she pushes the guy away, and the stuff at Arkham. So obviously they've got some pretty big hitters in there. They're obviously putting all their attention into the Joker and the Riddler and Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy and all that. The general population who are just mentally ill people are just wandering about left to police themselves. And she kind of says, it's a recessive gene, actually. She's probably got the same dad as Carrie White. This dad has got a type, hasn't he? Mentally unstable religious people.
Yeah, maybe he was involved in some sort of weird game years and years ago. Similar sort of game.
If this is an MCU thing, there would just be that little sting of that X-Men theme in the background now. It's a recessive gene. And the internet would be going mad.
The internet goes wild. So yeah, they basically they work out that Rachel's dad was a guy called Ralph White, who was the father of Carrie White. He's been slinging himself about,
making psychic kids all over the shop. And then Sue Snell's like, right, I'm gonna have to tell Rachel this. I'll take her to the site where Carrie's telekinetic rage destroyed the school 2 years ago. 20 years ago. Should we like demolish it, build something else here? I reckon we should just leave it here as a reminder. Not even a park in memory of all those people that got crushed and burned and stabbed and collapsed buildings on. Nah. To be honest, that'll just help people remember. I would rather leave this ruin here that I hope no one will ever question, and it will fade from memory.
Yeah. So basically says, I know what you've got. You've got the powers.
You got the rage.
You got the rage. You got the rage cage.
She goes, read this book, it's Matilda. Nicer ending than Carrie. She's a Miss Honey character. I like this one. She's like, no, you've got to watch out.
Sue Snell could be your Miss Honey, but she doesn't fully go into the role. Then we go back to the sort of stuff with the boys getting charges pressed against them by the school. The district attorney is the person who turns up at this meeting, and essentially that is a district attorney, isn't it? Like, covers it up, or doesn't cover it up, but tries to just brush over it and try and make out that
want to deal with the paperwork, the DA.
Yeah, but basically saying the players' families have got political influence, and it's and doesn't even the sheriff says there's an election coming up.
Yeah, district attorneys and sheriffs are both elected officials, aren't they?
Wow. Okay, so pretty shit.
Yeah, so they haven't got the appetite to go after these influential families. So they at the cusp of getting over. Rachel's kind of in their sights now, so they've started putting together a plan to get her, because they're losing control of Matey, the man that's still got hair. I've forgotten his name because it's not a 4-letter name.
Jesse.
Too many. He couldn't have knuckle dusters, could he?
Their plan to like kind of integrate Rachel into it is pretty convincing though. So the point where I was a bit like, is this a plan to just like humiliate her, or are they genuinely attempting?
Should we become her friends? That sounds nice, actually. Why don't we become a force for good for a change?
Especially with like the character played by Rachel Blanchard, Nancy from Peep Show, because I don't think she kind of looks the way that like 90s teen movies and 90s horror movies portray anyone who wears glasses. We're talking about like the she's all that moment of takes her glasses off, lets her hair down. Bloody hell, she's all right, that sort of shit. It's weird because she kind of appears, I guess, as the way a lot of this film leans into cliches like that. She appears in a way that she would be an outsider herself, and the fact that she's like one of the head evil bitches,
one of the head bullies. I remember
it was a bit confusing to the point where I kept thinking like, Are her glasses just giving me a false sense of he's all right, isn't she?
Anyways, those are the false glasses, and as soon as that's like, I hope someone explodes those glasses in the face. don't worry.
Exactly.
But yeah, she meets. So Rachel is at the Selfridges, and an uppity shop assistant is like, "Oh, can I give you help with something?" Because she's bungling it, to be honest. Like, she's not only does she look like she has an experience with makeup for this date that's coming up, and she has had a date with Jesse already, hasn't they? Had a lovely time in the rain. Says, actually, don't fancy car sex. Can we do this another time? And he's like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm a goodie, in fact. So no pressure. We'll go on a nice date. And she's getting ready. And not only has she not used makeup before, but she's apparently never operated a hinge, because she goes to open this box of makeup and just like splatters it all on.
Excuse me, can I help you? No, I'm just having a look.
Just absolutely wrecking it, actually. And then not Alicia Silverstone comes along with her fooling us with her glasses and says, "I'm a goodie, actually. Let me put some lipstick on you." And she's like, she's really cautious, like, you know, she might like accidentally like write dickhead on her head really quickly or something like that. She's like, all right then, and she puts it on nicely. And she puts it on her nicely, and then goes, "That looks really nice, actually. Do you want to buy it?" And old Mrs. Slocum goes,
$30,
like 33 quid, and she's like, maybe next time. Peace out, and they're off. But she's got lipstick now, so what would I buy it for? I'll see you tomorrow.
Let's go to Claire's Accessories instead. Get decked out.
Get her ears pierced by a teenager.
Get her no. They only pierce babies' ears. That's how it works in Claire's. How old are you?
You can only pierce the ears of someone 10 or years more younger than you are.
Yeah, that's how it works. Them's the rules. Yeah, so I guess like the way they build towards this like final scene, I guess, is pretty effective to the point where it's really like the long game, isn't it? They're trying to like get to Rachel or kind of like take her out of the equation. But it seems like obviously they're trying to do it because of her involvement in trying to get the player sent down, but also they're trying to do it because she's kind of taking someone who's in the inner circle, Jesse, out of the inner circle in a way. Yep. So they're just trying to get.
And he's even more in the inner circle now because he scores the winning touchdown of the big game against like baddie football team.
The Devils.
The Devils, of course, they're the baddies.
The Devils versus the Dogs. Load of bold sex
offenders. Bloody set of dogs, aren't they? Blooming dogs, right? Pack of dogs. Woof, woof, woof. As you say, that's what they'd understand.
It's funny you saying that they were playing the long game, because I'm entirely sure this whole movie takes over the place of a week, because at the very start of the film, they're all hyped up for Mark's party on the Friday, which is the party for the finale. So I'm entirely sure. Okay. It maybe runs Monday to Friday at most, by the sounds of it. But which is hilarious because so much happens.
So much happens, yeah. Your friend commits suicide, then you fall in love with somebody.
Yeah,
heavy week.
Yeah, but I think again they're sort of taking the stuff from the first film, because Carrie sort of believes that Tommy like really likes her when she's at the prom and stuff, and they just sort of ramp it up to even worse, because I don't ever think Tommy really gave her that impression in the first film, because obviously he was still going out with Sue, and that was all very clear, and it was just kind of Carrie's, I guess, a bit of naiveness. But with this one, it's very like, here's some friends, like you've just lost your friend, here's some other like female friends, be friends with your boyfriend's friends. Like, how nice would that be if we were all just a big group? Like, they sort of force that idea on her, and just when she gets like comfortable with it, they like rip it away. So they're not like intent on just like punishing her for like telling on them. Basically they're trying to like make her life as miserable as possible, like give her sort of a glimpse of like a bit of happiness, and try and be like, we're not that bad, like it was just a mistake. And then they just like turn it around so quickly. And you're right, the girl with the glasses, like she is, her boyfriend's one of the like that, he's her actual boyfriend, and he still seems to be a part of the game, and she's still participating in the bullying. Like, I just don't understand the structure of the girls at all. He's one of the ones like at the end, like screaming in Rachel's face and stuff. He is in the book, but they're meant to have been going out for a while, so it's a whole other layer on top of like how Tracy is. It feels like even stranger that she would be so I guess it's just that whole thing of like, yes, I'm a woman, but this doesn't affect me directly. So I'm not, it's very like white feminism of just like, I'm going to do it my way, but like, doesn't matter about how other women are affected. And I feel like that's pretty much it. Like her and Tracy are sort of outside of that. Like you said, Tracy's part of it quite consensually. But I don't think any other girl has been part of it in that fashion. They're not kind of privy to the knowledge that this game is going on. So yeah, it's like, I mean, everything they do is horrible, but it just seems extra brutal, like sort of forcing her into feeling comfortable with them to then double rip it away.
And trying to take away something that is actually out of their control and good, right? Because her relationship with Jesse is genuine. And I guess around this point, as the party is building up, it's before the big game. They do get together for another date, and she's thought about, does she want to have sex with Jesse? And there's kind of a hesitation where she goes, actually, no. And he goes, oh, it's all right. He has the opportunity to do another film cliche of have that turn by becoming like a horrible, like pushy jerk. But actually he goes, no, like we'll do this when you're ready. But of course, the film's got a runtime to keep to. So that is sufficient for it to go, actually, that is enough in this circumstance to understand that I am ready. Let's move the plot along. Let's get to the finale. And they do have sex. And it's without Jesse's knowledge that old Joe video camera that's been at various points of the movie is outside.
Yeah. And it was horrible because you knew that like when this came out, you knew that Rachel was going to believe that Jesse was in on it. And that I hate stuff like that where you're just like, oh no, there's going to be a horrible
confrontation as soon as that's happening. It's all going to come out. You'd probably, I don't know, maybe you guys feel differently. I'd probably rather have a big old bucket of pig's blood fall on me. Probably less worse.
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously we get the football game, which you already explained, and that's when Rachel, who obviously she does get grounded, but she's like, fuck this, I'm off to the game, see you in a bit.
Only for a week, so it's all right.
Only for a week. And then when she gets to the game, she like waltzes onto the field as well, doesn't she? Like takes it one step too far. It's like, just stay in the crowd and cheer. No, I'm going to get straight onto the field.
Just like Olivia Newton-John at the end. She's coming out with the leather trousers on. She's having a grand old time, and using the power of being the only player with hair anymore, Jesse is able to win the big game. And actually, those idiots that want to be spotted because they're all on about, oh, there's going to be load of scouts there let's do our best to all look. Let's all do our best to look absolutely fucking identical.
Oh yeah. Who was the one you were most impressed by? The bold one, the bold meathead one. That boldy locks and the three hairs. That guy.
Bald white guy, blonde stubble, like blue eyes.
All white as well. Yeah, that's interesting as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So Jesse saves the day. A scout comes along and says, actually, I'd love to have a chat with you. He very innocently says to someone who he assumes is his friend, despite the fact he's been a dickhead several times in the movie, oh, well, he's quick to forgive his Jesse. And he says, oh, tell Rachel I'll be along in just a minute, won't you? He goes, of course I will. And he goes outside and says, oh, Jesse says to go immediately to that party without waiting, actually.
Of course I will. It's Friday, and on Wednesday, I was outside your house trying to scare the shit out of you. I was well up for smashing your face in with knuckle dusters. It's Friday, and water under the bridge. Water under the bridge.
It's a long time at high school. It's a long time. They're reminiscent. Oh, remember that English class? Oh,
that was crazy.
Old shipwreck got up and said that love was 15 seconds of squelching noises.
We didn't even mention Shipwreck. He only gets a couple of scenes there, really, doesn't
he? Yeah. He's an odd one though, because he says bizarre, like they position him in that bit as like a class clown, but then the guys don't like him, and he's not allowed into the party.
Yeah,
he gets egged by those bloody devils. Well.
Oh yeah, he does. He's like, why did they? I'm nothing to do with it. Why did they get me?
He gets egged like an unpopular king. Topical. But yeah.
And so what happens is after the game is when Tracy goes. So obviously they've planned to make Jesse's car like they basically did Alan Partridge thing where they spray paint on it.
Yeah.
Cock piss Partridge on the side, and slash his tires as well. And
all of his tires, all 4 of them, not just one, all 4 of them. Like that's how to get someone to go out with you, is to decimate their car.
Decimate the car.
He goes, I could sort out. I could write cook past Babtridge on it. No, I can't. It's beyond help.
He immediately frames those devils. That's like really leaning into a labeling theory there. She goes, those bloody devils did it. She writes something pretty much like Jessie, more like bloody Jess Wee. That's your name.
She's got like the can of spray paint in her hands.
From the devils. Yeah, she's literally just finished.
Is that a bit of spray paint on your hands? I was trying to wipe it off. Yeah. Did you do this? I recognise your handwriting actually on the car. No, nothing to do with me.
Cool, you don't have stink of CFCs. I imagine we're still in. No, I'm just. Would you believe that I am Banksy? Well, no one knows who he is, so I assume so. But don't worry, a secret's safe for me. We won't talk about it. She goes, "Oh, do you want me to give you a lift to the Do you want to give us the lift to the party?" And Tracy's there to delay him. So she drives off, casually puts a can of like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air grade like spray paint, rattles around the waste paper basket as she's going away. And she takes him back to his house, to her house rather. She says, "Oh no," delays him a little bit, because I've just got to get ready for this party. I'm going to wear this dress. Do you think? And he's like, not interested, because he wants to go and see his actual girlfriend, who he loves, who he said on video that he loves, Rachel. Day 2 of their relationship.
I only spoke to you 2 days ago, but I gotta admit, I am in love with you.
Yeah. So that's that. It's an emotional time. So Tracy goes, "What do you think about this dress?" And he goes, "No, it's fine. Polite, non-committal."
That's the worst dress ever. Like, even 1999 party dress, that is not. That looks like something like, I don't know, a mum would wear in the 80s. It's like this full high neck, like lilac number that goes right down to like her ankles. And she's like, "What do you think?" And he's like, "Yeah." It's like,
it's 4, yeah.
That fits. No, he's like, no. It's like, no, you're fine, I guess. Can we bloody go? And then she's like, "Time to dial this up to 11." And she's like, "What about if I were?" That is a bit much, isn't it? What if I were to go this wise and like takes the dress off and underwear? Said, "No, my non-committal on that one wasn't so you would take your clothes off. It's because I really do want to get to this party. Actually, can we move this along ever so slightly?" Yeah, I mean, Tracy's a wrong un, but you could argue maybe she's got a bit of an impression that something's going on between them, because they did have sex in that car on Tuesday. It's a real Craig David situation here.
It sure is. At the party, like, Rachel is essentially being treated as like the guest of honor. She arrives.
Everyone's picking her up and spinning around.
I'd be like, "Leave me alone, for God's sake!" Like, I'm not a fan of this. You were intimidating me 2 days ago, and now you're spinning me around like we're on Strictly Come Dancing or something. What's going on?
Have a lovely dance, and even me, Ed Mark, comes over and says, "Oh, ever so sorry. We were just joking that time we bricked your house 2 days ago.
It was just a laugh, all right? It was just a laugh, a classic laugh." And they go, "Oh yeah." Yeah, but while they're doing this, they're getting it all set up for the ultimate horrible humiliation, which is they're going to play the sex tape of Jessie and Rachel on
the jumbotron.
On the jumbotron.
On the weird mirror screen thing where they just flip it and it all reflect. Like, I don't know what that technology was.
I tell you what, 1999, a big jumbo screen. I bet that goes 20 foot into the wall. I bet that is I bet that goes miles into the wall. So why is this end of your house really thick? Oh,
don't worry about
back of a TV. And I tell you what, talk about real life horrors. I don't want to see the number of SCART cables there are around there.
Jesus.
They got composite wires. They got the SCARTs out there. So it's in black and white. I haven't got audio. Make sure the yellow one's in the right one.
It's too reflective as well. There's mirror.
Switch it to AV2. Oh,
You know the moment when you're watching Netflix and then it just switches off and it's just a black screen and you see yourself sat there like that.
Yeah, sat there with like popcorn rested on your stomach and you haven't moved for hours.
Yeah.
It gives you that, like, are you still watching black screen just to depress you further?
Yeah.
Now I'm definitely not leaving the house. Continue.
But just imagine like the reflection from that. It's ridiculous. Yeah, so they start playing that, and it does feel like unnecessarily, like, I know these guys are bastards, and that they're obviously going to do something horrible to Rachel, but it does feel really, really unnecessarily bad, like just really badly, just unnecessary, like vile and repugnant, and just really, really mean, despite the fact we know what they're capable of as well.
Yeah. One thing I will say for those horrible bullies as well is that if you must show someone's private sex tape, not only the first time they've had sex and everything like that, but very tastefully shot for bullies, I think.
I mean, I can't deny it over there.
They've got the window framing in there for your first time as well, an absolutely bang up performance, and they even stay on it for the "I love you" at the end. I think there's.
Is this Eyes Wide Shut that we're watching on there? Is this Emmanuel? This is
Rachel. It could have gone the other way with Rachel. She should be like, yeah, fucking take notes, dickheads. Look at this.
I think it's interesting that they use like kind of sex as a weapon in the end, because it's very clear the whole way through that those guys don't give a shit about sex or sort of how it makes people feel, but they're also clearly very aware of, like, if you're having it with someone, you actually like that sort of extra level to it. I think they clearly know. I mean, one, they know how badly it's going to embarrass Rachel, which is maybe a thing. They clearly don't. I don't know if they care if it's going to embarrass Jessie or not. I don't know if it's that different sort of thing where they think that they're just all the jocks and everyone knows they have loads of sex, so it's fine. But they're also using it as a thing to sort of try and rip her and Jessie apart, because she assumes that Jessie was aware that they were getting filmed. So it's sort of that last thing in the like the last nail in the coffin where they're just like still using sex as a weapon against people, even if it's not them actually having it with them, and then also sort of ruining that perfect moment for her by making her think that Jessie just used her, like the same way that happened to Lisa and things. Like, she can sort of, I guess, reflecting back what happened to her friend, if that's the kind of way that Erica treated Lisa, then I guess she can see exactly why she did what she did.
They're jostling her around, they're throwing her about. It's quite a threatening environment, everything's happening. And then this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, and Rachel has a flashback to something that she has never witnessed. She has a flashback to Carrie's mom, who died 20 years ago, doing "They're All Gonna Laugh at You," and that is the catalyst. She evolves into her final form.
It's weird because I watched this film with subtitles on, and it's apparently a song, because it came up like "They're All Gonna Laugh at You" remix by. So it was like that was So I'm not quite sure if it was meant to just be like, yeah, a bit of her having a flashback to something she didn't see, or just the soundtrack with a Mrs. White sample in it. It's a strange one. That's the benefit of subtitles when you're watching stuff like this. It was very odd.
They're all gonna laugh at you, DJ Carrie, MC White.
I'll need to look it up and see. It was so funny. I was like, is that a song? That's strange. That's a strange sample choice, but yeah, why not?
She has a bit of "We're All Gonna Laugh at You" remix. And goes full Shirley Manson. Her tattoo gets a little heartbeat in it, and then the petals / thorns of the roses, I guess, psychically extend to cover her whole body, because she's a psychic now.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because nothing much was kind of focused on about the tattoo before this, apart from the fact that her and Lisa had the same tattoo and there was a connection to it somehow. But there hadn't been anything else. Like when she was having telekinetic flare-ups before, there wasn't like a focus on the tattoo. But it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks cool. It's a good look, second only to I would say the lead singer of Garbage, Shelley Mansion. I'm not sure if you've thought about her during the course of this film at all, but really did subtly nod to her for me at this point here. And unfortunately for those bullies, they've done some bullying in a house which is, I assume it would go on to be the house from 13
Ghosts. Don't throw stones in glass houses. Well,
90% glass. The greenhouse where Meathead Mark has his party. Goes, guess what? Get some bloody glass right up you. And
all of you.
Yeah.
She gets like, this is a kill streak because she pretty much obliterates 90% of everybody at the party with one fell swoop.
Obliterates half the school, and there's probably someone dying on the floor going, oh, if only there was precedent for this happening in this town. No! If only I could have foreseen this. She glasses them. She's ripping out pipes out of the wall. There's a poker. This is proper. Someone gets CD'd, just like in...
just like Hellraiser.
Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. She pinheads them. Absolutely pinheads a lot of them.
Yeah. And obviously all of the everyone dies except for any bully character that's had a speaking role and been involved.
Named character. So actually lots of just bystander bullies get shot straight away. She needs to save a special kill for some of those others. But our worst bullies, so Meathead Mark, old what's his chops? Another 4-letter name guy.
Eric.
Yeah, because they that's the thing. When this has happened and they reveal Eric as well as like one of the final levels of humiliation. Oh, by the way, there's your sex tape on the screen, and also here's the guy who like calls your best friend to kill herself. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Never wonder she gets the rage. But they immediately go to the armory of this house, and it's like,
what's going on?
Pretty Starship Troopers in there.
It's like Lara Croft's house or something. Yeah. Like just like, immediate harpoon gun.
Yeah, harpoon gun. And then
no real guns, just aquatic weapons only.
Just utility guns. Someone else has got someone else's like grappling hook.
Wow.
They've got their weapons. Immensely satisfying scene.
It's so good. Like if I just two of them at once, and it's perfect. Like anytime I mention this to people, if people do have a good thing to say about it, they're always like, oh, is that the one where the guy gets his dick harpooned off? And I'm like, yes, it is. It is so good.
Is that the one? It's the only one where someone's getting their dick harpooned off. I've completely forgot that we didn't mention that Sue Snell and the mum have been tracking Rachel to this.
They're on the way because only
pointless
saved them. But mom,
pointless.
Mom is like, oh, this guy on this street has always had a thing for me. He's not there. Maybe she is mad after all.
Yeah,
I think this kind of storyline is Sue Snell is probably why the film gets a bit of a bad rap, because I'm sort of fine with it being tied to Carrie and her being the same dad, but this bit is literally pointless because Sue immediately gets, I think, pokered by a fire poker through the eye, through a door, through another person, through many layers into her face. And then Rachel's mum just comes in enough time to be like, oh, you are actually evil and I hate you. So it just takes away like anything that Rachel had. And she like distracts her long enough to get flare gunned in the stomach. So the mum is no help at all. No. She's actually a massive hindrance. And then she just leaves. She just runs out into the night to go and hook up with her invisible gentleman.
I'm getting back to Arkham.
Yeah.
Get me back. The real world's fact. She does say it somewhere. Oh, it's changed loads, isn't it, in 20 years? Yeah.
Assuming they are in a suburb of Gotham, I can't rule out that there isn't actually an invisible guy. Maybe she says it's a gentleman. Maybe it's the gentleman ghost. Famous Batman villain. Yeah.
Okay.
What part of America is Carrie set in? Is it usual? I'm just thinking because it's so funny. In every single Stephen King thing ever, they make a huge point of if they mention a mental hospital, it's Juniper Hills because that's what's in everything. But that's obviously in the main area. So I just think it's hilarious that they've gone to a huge effort to be like, nah, Arkham, obviously. Like, we're not going to tie this into the wider Stephen King universe. Or somewhere else, but I can't remember where
Google
Carrie's
says,
actually
of course, it's a main town of Chamberlain.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, okay.
Close to Juniper Hill. So it's very funny that they keep mentioning.
It was full. It was
Must
full.
have been out of the catchment area. One of those things. Actually, these three
catchment area.
Your assigned mental hospital is actually the much worse one.
So she castrates Eric with a harpoon. She smashes Rachel's glasses in
Just
on
explodes
themselves.
her eyes off with
exploding
glasses.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, she explodes Alicia, not Silverstone's glasses. She harpoons Mark's junk into the pool. Sorry, not it's
Eric.
And then Mark gets just biffed on the head by the pool cover ever so slowly as it comes over. Is that him? And then he gets got underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she falls into the water after being harpooned herself.
Flare guns.
Sorry,
yeah.
flare gun. That's it. Oh,
When
I'm forgetting. They are all like Lara Croft weapons.
Yeah.
These are all the things that she's got in Tomb Raider 2. The harpoon gun, the flares. Someone just dies through with double pistols.
Eric goes like doing that side somersault across. And yeah, when a mom's distracted her after Sue Snell has been harpooned right through the noggin. So a mom comes in and goes, "Oh, bloody hate you," and she goes, "Oh, please don't go, Mom. I know I've not really seen you for a while, but my foster parents have slapped me around the face and grounded me. I've killed all these people from school that I've been friends with for 18 hours maybe. And I've basically got no one. Sorry, Rachel. Sorry to call you out on this, but what about your dog? Has it escaped your knowledge that he's actually going to be fine?"
She went, "Who? Oh yeah. He's all right. I haven't really been thinking about him too fair.
You've lived long enough to see yourself become the villain, Rachel. You can't forget about your dog. You had him. But it's okay because Jesse turns up and he goes, "Hey,
what's happened here then?
What's happened here?" And at first she's a bit suspicious of him, but Tracy is somehow alive and in the middle, so she fucking wazzes a burning sofa at her. Right.
Is that what it is? A burning sofa?
It's something burning falls on her, and Jesse's just immediately like, "She's dead. Just leave her." But thanks to Rachel's telekinetic powers of rewinding and zooming on a video camera, she zooms in on Jesse, telling her that he loves her while they were asleep.
Oh yeah, you did say that, because no one would use those words. No one would use those words as a form of gaslighting someone.
No.
The fact that you said it makes me know. It's like those things in films where you go, right, enhance, rewind, enhance. The technology doesn't exist to enhance that. Enhance, zoom.
She's got psychic powers.
Yeah, mind powers. It's fine.
You proper like re-record, not fade away. Scotch tape rewinds that a few times. After she's heard it enough times, she's like, "That's really sunk in now. Actually, I do believe you that you did that, because actually, isn't performative because I was asleep, so you didn't know it was being filmed. So actually, that's genuine. So I do love you, actually. Unfortunately, though, despite all of her psychic abilities, this is why it's telekinetic, not psychic, because the one thing she did not foresee coming was that big old bit of roof."
Well, she undoes all the bolts while she's raging at him. She's like psychically undoing all the bolts, and then she's like, "Oh, it's fine, I love you." And then just immediately gets crushed.
Look out, roof!
Yeah.
This is like that bit in Batman Begins when Bruce Wayne gets like a bit of food, and then Alfred says, "You do it yourself, so you can't lift a bloody log." That's what you should say to her. You're telekinetic and you can't lift a bloody log.
bit of a roof. Yeah, so she looks at Jesse one more time and goes, "Get out of here," and then sends him absolutely spiraling out through that glass wall onto the lovely safe, the pool cover. Thankfully, it's still attached quite tautly. It doesn't wrap around him and drown him like Unbreakable.
It's because he wasn't wearing a poncho. He definitely drowned if he was.
So she blasts him out through the 13 Ghosts house, and he's just looking up as the house is destroyed. And then we flash forward to 1 year later. He's got his life together. He's at college. Everyone's moved on. He has got her dog, the main character of the story. He lives with him now.
How has he ended up with custody of that dog?
And also, poor dog, constantly cursed to be in houses that he's not really supposed to be in.
I don't feel we're allowed pets in here. He's all right.
Because he's woofing, and he's like, "No, you'll get us blooming chucked out. The university's got very strict rules that you're only allowed in here in mornings."
He's like, "I just want to live my life."
Surely it'd be the other way around. Like, you could have your dog sleeping with you, but you can't leave him in there when you're out all day. Get out
backwards.
No, he's like, don't let us in there. And then, genuinely a little bit heartbroken here, because I was like, oh, a happy ending. She's walking through. She's come. It's Rachel. Turns out that roof only slowed her down a bit, and a year later, she's living on the run, and she comes to see him at the stroke of midnight. But then she turns into dust, and it's a horrible nightmare.
She turns into horrible CGI meringue. This scared me a bit, because I was like, I was proper into it, like going, "Oh, she's back! I can't believe it!" And then when she I went, "Oh fuck, no, she's not." It happens
so fast. She's like, it's like a 3-frame job between meringue, stone, shattered,
meringue, stone, shattered, dead.
Explodes, and he wakes up, and he was in the room, and it was only very good, actually, very consistent. He was in his nightmare. It was 2 minutes to 12. And then he wakes up and it's 12 o'clock. So he's dreaming in real time.
He's dreaming in real time.
Got a great attention to detail. And then he kind of like the end of an episode of Law and Order, where he just got sighs and is like,
and then it's like, is it some sort of like new metal outro song? I don't know. In my head, it is.
It is, yeah. I can't remember who it is. I did not retain that subtitle information.
I'm gonna have a quick look at the Carrie 2 soundtrack.
I'm looking at the soundtrack. It's the only big hitters on there are Typo Negative, Fear Factory, and I guess Paradise Lost. The rest of them I'm not familiar with. Not that I'm the
Damn Paradise Lost with some faint praise there, I guess.
Sorry, Paradise Lost. A lot of them haven't even got a link on Wikipedia. What can you say? Buddha Monk. No. Trailer Park Pam.
I mean, that's the last thing. Maybe Spark Somebody Up by Buddha Monk, 3 minutes 57 is
that's a good title for a song based on this film. Spark Somebody Up.
Not Laughter Limes by Sack.
Yeah. Sack. They're my favourite, Sack. Right, that's the end of the film. I guess we got to do a bit of name game. Should we explain to you how name game works briefly, Kim? It's fairly easy.
Yeah.
It's fairly straightforward. Basically, we'll describe the plot or synopsis of a film that sounds a little bit like The Rage Carrie 2. So,
okay.
After one example, it will become clear what we mean by that. The Rage Carrie 2 or Carrie 2 The Rage? How have you done this?
I've done it in the parlance of The Rage Carrie 2.
Mine are absolutely awful, and I always seem to apologize in advance. But
you want to go first, Ben, or do you want me to go?
No, you can go first. Set the bar.
Okay. In this film, famous Chef Rhodes returns, and this time he's brought some new herbs along with him.
I know exactly what it is because I tried to do a herb-based one. It is the Sage.
Yep.
Gary 2.
The Sage Gary 2, correct.
Gary Rhodes, rest in peace. Always forget that
Gary Rhodes dead. Oh, fucking hell. This day's getting worse.
I'm so sorry.
Had a toothache all morning.
What have I got? Okay. So this film crosses over with another famous Stephen King adaptation. A horrible massacre strikes up after an outcast teenage girl accidentally runs over a little boy with a truck. And then they realize that they've got to dig a hole and put him in it twice. It's terrible. I'm sorry.
Is it the Gauge Berry 2, but said Berry slightly wrong, but Bury 2?
Yes. Thank you.
I got the Gauge part. I could not get it. I was just going to be like Pet Cemetery 2.
Pet Cemetery, innit? Pet Cemetery. I tend to like write these down, and then it's at this exact moment that I try to add some sort of explanation for them. So I do apologize. Okay. Andy,
here's one for you. So the Hendersons are back, and unfortunately, evil hunter David Suchet has captured their adopted family member, a Sasquatch, in a big metal prison.
The Cage Harry 2.
Cage Harry 2, correct.
I like it. What else have we got? I'm so sorry. I don't know how I'm going to explain this. A horrible massacre strikes up after a teenage girl realizes she's not getting paid the minimum amount of money you should do for working at a photography development place. So she decides to become a bigamist.
What's the first part of that again?
She's not getting paid enough for her job. She's not getting paid the minimum
amount. Is it?
She becomes a bigamist.
Is it The Wage? Marry 2?
Yes, it is.
Put a question mark in there, but that carried it off.
The Wage? Marry 2.
Marry 2.
Exactly. My other one was based on a sage leaf, so I'm not going to go for that.
How about then, you two, that I put this to you? A young boy tasked with helping his family members at a wedding in quite a ceremonial role befitting of a young male child, is asked not to transport one of the rings down the aisle, but bloody both of them.
I think I've got it.
The Page Carrie 2, but like Carrie with a Y.
That's right, the Page Carrie 2.
The Page. Sorry, only refer to me as the Page during this wedding. All right.
Yeah, like the vicar that doesn't know the little kid's name. Oh, the Page, the little
the Page Carrie 2. Is that it? You got any more?
I got 2 more for you, Ben. If you're ready for it.
2 more.
I know it's an easy word to rhyme. So next one. Madame Curie is back, and this time she's safe from radiation because she has a meter to warn her when there's lots of radiation around.
The Gauge.
Yeah.
Who?
Madame Curie. Yeah.
Mary 2.
She's French, Marie. The Gauge, Marie 2. And then the last one. After successful television roles in both Red Dwarf and the British Empire, a man named Chris decides to tread the boards.
The Stage Barry 2.
Stage Barry 2, correct.
Fantastic. Nailed it. I had nothing.
I've got no more. I kind of want to see all of those films.
I definitely want to see the one about Gary. That's the name of the Gary Rhodes biopic.
The Sage.
Considering he's
also
dead.
Also a very wise cook, I imagine. He had quite a storied career.
Very spiky hair. So I guess we got to rate the movie A to F. Kim, how would you like to rate this film?
I'm gonna give it an A. Weirdly, I rated it on Letterboxd the last time. Twice I'd watched it, just 4 stars, and I don't know why. I don't know what I thought the missing star was. I watched it this time and gave it 5. I think, yeah, it's a very time specific film. It feels very much like watching like The Craft or like House of Wax remake or something, it has that soundtrack, it just whisks you back to that, like my teenage years of watching this at high school. And I do think I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's got some great kills and stuff, and I just think it has, yeah, there's so much like deeper message and things that you can analyze, and I think it was quite ahead of its time and that kind of stuff. And I think it makes it still quite relevant, and it can maybe get a bit of a harsh time for some questionable like CGI and yeah, the kind of tenuous link to Carrie. But I think overall the whole like story and the way they deliver it is really great, and I think it'll be one. It's the same actually. I don't know if you've ever seen the third urban legend film, Bloody Mary. It gets a lot of shit as well, but it's got a very similar storyline about a toxic football team who are it's sort of kind of rape culture, and it's kind of been covered up by the future generation, and that's why Bloody Mary comes back. I would highly recommend that one. It's directed by Mary Lambert, who directed Pet Sematary as well, which is like my favorite Stephen King adaptation. So yeah, it's got some terrible CGI as well, but I would recommend it. It's very much, I think it and Carrie to make a great double bill, and I think they both get a lot of hate for being perceived terrible sequels to other great films. But yeah, I just think it's got quite an important thing to say, and I think even past when the music and the effects have gone quite questionable, I think it's still going to keep saying that important message. So yeah, I love it. So yeah, I'm going to give it top marks.
Go for A or A plus?
Oh, let's go for A plus if there's a chance for that one, because it's just yeah, I never get tired of watching it. And yeah, I was said before we started, I own this film in every format. I watched the shiny Blu-ray version this time around because I hadn't watched it yet, but yeah, I just adore it. So
that's good. I like it when people like things. It's really nice. Like now I'm trying to rack my brains to think, have I watched Urban Legend 3? I might have to go back. Basically, my very limited memory of Urban Legends is Hoodie in the first one, and then the person who's the villain is that lady has iconic curls, the curls that defined a generation.
Yep.
I don't think I've seen the third one.
It's great. Kate Mara's in it, so it has like real people in it.
Real human beings.
We'll do an Urban Legend binge, Kim. We'll get you back for 3.
Oh, please do. I would love that.
What are you rating it, Andy?
It's a classic for me, Ben, in that I didn't know anything about this film. I have watched it, even though I watched it in a slight rush. I'd like to spend some more time when I'm not watching it piecemeal and I get to enjoy it properly. But I think this was far better than it had any business being a movie solo sequel to a Stephen King thing. As I say, I think for me, had they been a bit braver at the time, you could have separated this from Carrie entirely and just had a film called The Rage, which has a psychic revenge plot in it. And you could have, separated it from Carrie entirely, and I think it still would have stood alone very well. I kind of like the visuals, and Kim, you mentioned like it's very easy to shit on like the CGI and stuff like this now. It's very easy. We look back at certain things with kind of disdain, and we have a great love for other things that don't seem to date in our memories. You watch films that are held up on a visual sense now. You watch The Matrix now. Those sunglasses and phones have dated like milk.
Sorry, phone.
Yeah. They're getting the Motorola Razors out and the sunglasses that are the most 1999 sunglasses ever. But we don't look back on those and do it. So why do we worry so much about, yes, there's a few lines around the CGI, but I think the story in it's really, really quite fun. And I think, as we said in the episode, I kind of have a bit of respect for a film that, despite the overblown horror elements of it, does still have a message behind it as well. I can't match your unbridled enthusiasm after just one watching.
No.
But it's one of these that I enjoyed watching it, and then get sick of me saying this, having talked about it with you guys for an hour or so, probably like it even more now because I've heard your take on it. There are things that I can say, oh yeah, I didn't think of that, or I didn't see that, or yeah, that was pretty fun, wasn't it? So I like this more. I'm gonna give this one. Maybe I've been blown away. I'm going too high. I'll temper my expectations a bit and go for our Hangout Classic then of a B- from me.
I was going to go for a B- as well. Again, first time watching it, so it's probably difficult to kind of rank it higher than that for me. But I was pleasantly surprised by it in terms of how it stands separate from the original, and there's a moral sort of story to tell. I think it's a great central performance, a really great performances like a protagonist as well. And when really dislikable characters get their comeuppance in some way, whether it's having their knob shot off by a harpoon, glasses explode in their face, being crushed by a burning sofa. Did we say? I don't know. Was that right?
Get smashed by a burning sofa. I mean, certainly it's more straightforward than drugging someone, burying them alive, and then giving them Cenobite dreams, Bishop.
It sounds like it, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think for that point it's effective, and sure, it does kind of just like build towards this final scene, but so does the original Carrie as well. It does kind of build towards that, and I think it does it really well. Maybe the ending's a bit of like a disappointment in terms of how it kind of just like goes, and then she's dead, and the dog just moved out.
She did love Jesse. I don't know if you know that, but they loved each other, so it's only natural that the dog.
Shall I look after the dog? Shall I look after the dog? Yeah.
Yeah, they should have had a scene and said, "Please look after my dog. Only you know where he's gone to the vets. I didn't mention it to my foster parents."
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'll go for a classic B-. Much better than I kind of was anticipating it to be, and yeah, it's definitely one. And again, I think I agree with you, Andy. It is one of those where now we've spoken about it at great length. I do realize a lot more about it and work out, what things worked really well and what things perhaps probably should have got more plaudits for when this was originally released. So there we go.
When it comes to psycho kind of power children, which would you both rather be facing? If you have to fight one of them, there's no option. Let's set the rules out here. So you're going to start at opposite ends of a field. They will immediately perceive you as an enemy and they're going to attack you. Would you rather be up against Carrie, the Rage Carrie 2, Firestarter, or the Frozen Woman?
Wait.
You've got to fight one.
Elsa.
Yeah, Elsa. Gotta fight one of them, and just to point out, I know Elsa's nice. She's perceived you as an enemy, Ben. You're that bad prince or whatever the baddie is in that movie. She's gonna get you.
Who would I rather take on?
Yeah, you got to fight one of them.
I reckon I could get a drop on Drew Barrymore.
Oh, okay.
Just like run towards her, and then she perceived me as an enemy, and then the fan would start making her hair go like that, and I don't know, 2-foot tackle her, break her legs. But are they all there at the same time trying to kill me? Because I'm screwed.
No, only one at a time. One of them's going to appear. This is like a Hellraiser situation. You've done that box, and Pinhead's gone, right, choose your enemy.
Yeah. I feel like out of all of them, Carrie, original recipe Carrie, is the one I'd be most scared of. Because I think once she's gone, she's gone. That's it. Whereas I think Rachel, you can still kind of reason with her. I do love you. I did love you. Look at the video.
I think you've sold it for me, Ben. I think I would go for the Rage Carrie 2 and say she'd see me, perceive me as enemy, and go, Shirley Manson, and she'd go, "Oh, you." I bloody love her. I said, "Oh, now you've mentioned that." And then worst comes to worst, I'll be smashed through a glass wall to safely land on a
in the middle of the field, yeah.
How about you, Kim? Who are you going to go up against?
See, I was going to say original Carrie because I don't want to go against ice or fire. And I was thinking, like, original Carrie seems like, I know she still murders a lot of people, but it's very just like, oh, make this wire go into the water and electrocute people. Whereas like Carrie, Rachel in the Rage 2 is like properly like fire poking at people through the eye. Like she seems intent on like, I hate you, you're gonna get murdered horribly. Whereas original Carrie seems to just be like, I'm just gonna create like absolute chaos. So you might be able to like dive through the chaos and get to her before she actually like pinpointed you. That'd be my logic.
You don't want to get frozen to death because that would be painful.
No.
There we go. I think we've covered this film as in as much detail as possible, which is good. So
maybe the most detail on the internet, I think. Yeah, probably claim it.
Possibly. Thank you very much for joining us, Kim. Where can our listeners find more from you on socials or elsewhere?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at WickedSister69 because I picked my handle when I was 16 and I have not changed it. I am committed. I write. I'm a senior contributor for Ghouls magazine. So I write over there quite regularly. I do a column on motherhood and horror movies. And I also just do a lot of bananas lists as well, which get me insulted on Letterboxd. And I also do all their social media. So anything you see on their social media sites, that is me as well. So yeah, that's the main place. I have my own blog as well called Little Red Horror. Where I just write a lot of random lists, and I do a column comparing remakes to their originals and things as well, because I'm a big fan of a terrible remake or a terrible sequel. That's definitely my wheelhouse.
Amazing. We'll put all of those links in the show notes. So thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks very much to all of our current patrons, including John Crinnan, Ben Scaife, Stephen Christopher, Laura Kendrick, Toby Miller, Lane Spencer, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julia Bilgren, Nick Spill, Troy Bursch, and Pazuzu. Thank you all very much for your support. We're on Twitter at horror_hangout_, and we're on Instagram at horror hangout podcast. We're also recently on Facebook and TikTok. Can you believe it? Thank you very much to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. Head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors for more. Next week, we're doing Killer Clowns from Outer Space with the Every Movie Ever podcast. So please tune in for that. Thanks again, Kim. And thank you very much, Andy, for being a right horror dude.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Ben. And thanks, everybody, for being right horror dudes. Wherever you are, don't carry us. We're respectful.
Don't carry us at all. Please keep harpoons away from our junk.
Yeah, if you could.
See you later.
Your glasses never explode. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye now.